Yeah.
Hey,
Welcome.
brother.
Hey, what's going on? 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 This is going to be a great conversation.
I can
Uh,
tell.
this is definitely going to be a really, really good conversation. Uh, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Grab me, give me that black.
Right.
Like I said, I wish I could tell y'all, but me and Michelle had to stop ourselves because we was already getting deep into a heated discussion
Okay.
or debate. Thank you, BK. Please, y'all do me a favor. Shout out, share the video, share the video, share the video. Uh, right now, I'm trying to figure out how to work a iMac computer. I
Oh,
still don't know
wow.
how to work. I still don't know how to work that damn thing. That thing just sits there, and I hate that damn computer.
You said that.
It's just,
Honey, I
it's
don't I
just
don't work with apples. The only thing I can do is eat them. That's about it. I'm no good with apples.
so
Apple.
I'm glad you do. Michelle, where the hell you at? Um. So other than that, we did. We sent out. We sowed the seed of a lot of. Leave it alone, Nina. Leave it alone. We sowed the seed of sending out a lot of stuff. But let me start off since you're here already.
Okay.
What do you know? What do you know of affirmative action?
Um, I kind of think I know the general basis that everybody else knows. Affirmative action was supposedly a tool that was used to go ahead and give people of color a step up in the employment field and the employment game. Now, have I actually done a lot of research to do some soul searching and some digging around that? No, I have not. But that is what I have been taught as I was growing up. So it was
Okay.
supposed to be something that was supposed to allow us to have a chance, a fighting chance in the the work field or the workforce.
Okay. If you could pull it up, if you're on your computer or your phone, that would be awesome. I'm on my phone right now, y'all. And listen, so I'm going to be having to work some goddamn miracles off this one. I'm gonna need the power of YouTube and everybody raise your hands like a saying because I listen. Other than that, we're straight off the dome. Now, from what I gather from affirmative action, if Eliza wants to look it up, uh, that is it was an open bridge opportunity.
Yes.
It was an open bridge opportunity for minorities, and when you say minority, it covers a whole arrayment,
A diaspora.
uh, yeah, of diaspora of people, not just black people, but just when you're saying minorities, just anybody and everybody, any and everybody should have that chance at that facility or that school
Hmm.
or that facility or charter. Now, depending on that of the level. Now, in saying that, they said, "Well, that's always how it's been in America." No, it has not.
That's
It has
not.
not been.
That is how it was
We
marketed. That is how it was marketed. That is not exactly how it was. But we also have
correct.
to take into consideration whenever these people marketed something, it usually had an ulterior. There was usually an ulterior motive behind it. But that's how they marketed it so that everybody will be comfortable, or they can get as many people on board or as comfortable as possible with the idea.
Right, right. And so, and like I said, and this is not just an only black conversation. I don't want this to be an only black conversation because this is going to affect that of the whole populace of people. You gotta understand, this is going to affect the whole populace of people. And I see what Jane Doe. So isn't it basically an anti-discrimination law? Pretty much, yes. In other words, someone saying, "Hey, I want to go to Duke." But at the time, not just anybody around that time could just go to Duke. So But hey, when you had an affirmative action, it opened up the door that guess what? You have to allow it to where everyone should be allowed to go to Duke. You
It,
know?
it it was supposed to be everybody that qualified should have an equal opportunity to go to Duke. But a lot of times back then, whenever it came out, they marketed it as in black people could get the opportunity because at that time it was seen, black people or people of color were the ones that were considered the minority. Now the minority actually covers a lot of diasporas. This can cover women, this can cover people of color, this can cover immigrants and things of this nature. But it was specifically done because a lot of people were complaining that only a certain caliber of person were able to, that were gifted these opportunities. And so it was supposed to allow everybody to be able to have what they consider an equal chance, even though once again that's not exactly how it was.
And we're also finally joined here by turning the show. Um, when I look at that of the affirmative action, but there's a lot of people are like, yeah, finally, like we work better under. And also shout out to Doug. Yes, we can make it without affirmative action because we would be forced to make it regardless. Looking at the past pre-civil rights, we work better under pressure. Um, I want to. I when I look at how they lived back in the day, it doesn't really look appealing. Like looked like it was more survival. Like I don't know. Like some people try to make it look like it was like oh happy day. Mama and granddaddy were just happy and this and that. But I'm like, listen, y'all can stop with them goddamn good gear Hallmark stuff. Like you having to worry about getting an equal pay share because, well, guess what? You didn't have a certain certification. Well, we don't take Negroes in this school, so or we don't recognize your degree.
Right.
Then you screwed out of the look. But if they don't recognize you, you just shit up. They could pull out the stuff. They had it where men coming home from the military. They didn't get respect. They didn't get the same. They didn't get respect like that.
Not
And
only
then
that, not only that, but if we're talking about affirmative action, people also fail to remember because some people we have a long memory, okay, and some people fail to remember that even though they had affirmative action, whenever you actually got your degree from Harvard or from Roxford or things of this nature, you still couldn't get a job because certain people still didn't want to hire you. It didn't matter if you had the degree or not. So, I mean, we supposedly we get a degree so we can be able to have a opportunity at a better paying job. And this is also during the time where the factories were the best paying jobs out there, and they were actually trying to transition us away from the factories.
that is true. That is true. And um
We hate
so
to admit that even in the Black community, we had classism.
Yes.
You did have doctors and lawyers straight out of slavery. You did
where?
have nurses. You did have teachers. You also had workers. You had some workers that were farm workers and some that were factory workers. The great
Wait, 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 wait,
diaspora
wait,
from
wait,
the
wait.
South.
Pause. You had doctors out of slavery.
Yes.
Yes.
What
Yeah, you
doctor?
did.
Give me a doctor, please.
Okay.
How do
Let me Google it. Google is your friend some
no, no, no,
days.
no, no. You can't just say we had a doctor and then let me Google it. See, you can't
No,
do
I
that.
said I will Google the exact name of doctors because white doctors were not allowed to treat Black patients once the Black codes came in.
Okay. But now hear me with this. Hear me with this. Okay, and just watch what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out when did a slave have time to, well, let me go check on my OBGYN to find out if I can come to work today, boss. Like that was not happening. That was not something that you were doing. You were listen, nigga. You drop that baby and get and put that baby in the box and get your ass back to work. Like we have a whole footage of that horrific working condition. So I hear
Okay,
what you're trying
so
to
okay,
say, but
Hold
that's
on.
not
I'm
really
going.
good.
Okay, first of all, not all blacks were slaves before the end of the Civil War. So yes, there were
Oh,
black people that had time to become doctors during before and during slavery. Just say during slavery in the United States. And
oh,
those would be primarily in the North, but there were still black doctors. And I'm sending you a link now of black doctors that were in the actual Civil War.
Yes.
okay. So,
Um,
Oh,
okay, go ahead.
as far as attorneys go, John R. Lynch became a congressman and serving from, let me see, 60, 68 to 74 in Congress, and he was sworn in as an attorney before he became a congressman.
Was he was his was him what he was doing respected by other attorneys? Were other attorneys respecting him?
Well, he was a United States congressman,
Does
so
it,
yes.
just because they put
Was he treated?
just because they put you there?
Was he treated
What?
differently? Yes. Was he
Oh,
treated
okay, so he
differently?
wasn't
There's
respected.
a famous just conversation on the floor in the House in which they had made a move. They had moved the Congress to start addressing everyone by Negro, whatever their last name was. Well, my great great grandfather had piercing green eyes. And so he said, well, I have another motion. Let's address them by the color of their eyes. And I want to call you dirty, rotten, eyed congressman. He had that kind of,
And he said
he
that to a
had
white
that.
man.
Yes.
I call bullshit. I call
Okay.
bullshit. Ain't,
okay.
Again,
ain't no
Joe,
Negro.
you,
Ain't no Negro back then was calling no white man no dirty brown eye and was walking home the
okay.
next. No, okay, you gonna have to show me that documentary.
I
We ain't
will
gonna have
show
we
it to you.
we not telling bedtime stories now. We're not
We
telling
don't have
bedtime
to.
stories. Come on now, stop now. We ain't doing
But
all that now. Like,
we as black people cannot let white people tell our story that all of us were walking around, no, not able to treat ourselves, not able to stand up for
so
ourselves.
Hold
where was
on.
the document? But why is this not documented? Like, if
It
trust me.
is.
Hold
It
Okay,
on,
so
is.
I would need to
guys.
see that.
Hold on.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sending stuff to you now.
See, hold on. Here's the thing. Yes, at that time, whenever the 2 years amongst the chaos, and this is why they supposedly celebrate Juneteenth, which is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Around this time, we did have people that were friends of some white people that still were getting the education to become doctors and lawyers early on, whenever they were free men or whenever they were walking around as free men, and they were able to go ahead and get this information. And the main reason why is because that gave the white doctors the privilege of sitting there saying, well, you know what, we don't want to sit there, we don't want these people to be our clients. We don't want to deal with them at all. Their people need to go ahead and deal with them. So now, is that to say that they had the same education or they had the same backing? No, of course not. But, at that time, they were sitting there saying, okay, well, you know what? If you guys sit there and have your own doctor, we don't have to deal with you. And so you have to go over there with them. On
I
top
can
of the
agree with
fact,
that.
for a lot of black people that did not trust white men. And so because of that, they said, look, we're going to have to sit there and find somebody of our own caliber. And even if the education is not the same, we still feel more comfortable with these people because we can relate to these people. And we know that, the primary, the primary necessity for us is to go ahead and keep us safe and alive. And we trust our people to be able to do that better than theirs. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with our people, even if they don't have the same level of education. So that's where that came from. So
Okay,
she is.
okay.
Um,
Let me first thank you, Juju, for your 199. Your $1.99 is very much appreciated. Thank you so much for your $1.99. I'm so happy for that. Thank you. I am so very happy for that. Thank you, Juju. Thank you.
Thank
I want to all dollar and change is very much appreciated. Thank y'all so much. Um, so let me ask you this. Uh, because you say affirmative action. Why? But Michelle brought up the question. This is pretty much her ongoing talking point, not mine. Um, that black people do not need affirmative action. Correct, Michelle? That's just thought. That's the stance that you're on. Correct.
I think that affirmative action has run its course. That one of the
What
things about
do you mean?
cream, it rises to the top. And in spite of severe disparities, we have always risen to the top. And it would be a false notion to think, well, we need to keep affirmative action around until every Black person has a college degree. It's
Why
like
not?
we're at the marker now where in excuse me, in 2020, 38% of white students between the ages of 18 and 24 had a college degree. During that same time frame, 37% of African Americans had a college degree. So we are getting to that point where our educational gains are equal to many of the Caucasians that could have been
Are you
born with a silver spoon in their mouth.
are, okay? Now let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question because you're saying that we're equating equally, right? But when I look at it, when I'm looking outside of my window and I'm looking at black public schools, they are nowhere close to that of other schools. Like I'm trying to figure out where's this gap being. I'm hearing one thing that oh yeah we're close, and then I'm looking at it differently. Like I literally had to correct a boy at Walmart who literally when I said 6 times 3, and he said oh yeah that's 21. So I'm trying to figure out where's this gap of kids. You know what I'm saying? But I see it on the news. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all the people, Jujus and nerds. I know we have Doug. Doug is literally he has a trade profession in making tanks and stuff like that. We have a lot of people. Iori, he has certifications and stuff. Um, there's a lot of blacks out there. Eliza, she's highly well taught, self taught. But I'm trying to figure out in that of the Latin stuff that has happened to the community, why are we saying, well, it's now run its course when many other things have happened to the African community that have also been thrown on the track during that course. So why are we saying that hey, it's run its course when we've had over policing? We found out about school teachers who purposely set kids up for failure, redlining. How does it run its course?
May I? May I? Okay,
Go ahead.
so I'm going to say that this is Eliza. I'm going to go ahead and say that I agree with the fact that it's run its course, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yes, totally
Um,
clear.
so we also have to remember initially, affirmative action was to be able to go ahead and give us the equal opportunity. Whenever we had, when we had Black Wall Street, sorry, that's my dog. He's inside. He wants to go outside. But whenever we had, Tulsa and we had the Black Wall Street, we
Uh
had
huh.
all the education that we needed, and we also had the community that we needed. Now, granted, it was destroyed, and that's the one that is the most publicized. But understand that is nowhere near the only predominantly black. And I understand we're not trying to make this about black, but that is part of my answer. That was one of the most known predominantly black sectors and areas that we had. And we had actually learned everything that we really needed to learn. We were able to have our own churches, our own schools, our own hospitals, banks, and everything else. And let's be honest,
we were not only thriving, but we were thriving substantially better than our counterparts, which is one of the reasons that they decided to come in and try to destroy. So initially, whenever we're sitting here talking about schools, we also have to take in consideration back then, even though we did not have the books that had the same level or the same criteria of education that a lot of our counterparts had, our books and our teaching from word of mouth and experience and the level of respect that we actually had for the people in our community, that was giving us education enough on its own. It was, back at a time where if we had, let's say, Marianne that worked at the bank, she was able to sit there and tell anybody in the community who wanted to work at the bank, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you count money. This is what the numbers are, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So honestly, the fact that we were able to build those, and I say those as in more than one, and thrive better than our counterparts, tells us right then we no longer really needed affirmative action. I mean, let's be real. I mean, a lot of the stuff that, was being done. Oh, okay, hold on, baby. All right, I'll go ahead and get you a Band-Aid in a minute, okay?
Okay,
Sorry.
while she's dealing with that, Joe, I'm going to answer your question.
Yep.
James McClune Smith was the first African American to obtain a medical degree in 1837 when he graduated from the University of Glasgow in Scotland.
We kind of saw that. It was kind of somebody put that in the chat. But he went to Scotland.
In 1847, he was David James Peck was the first to receive a medical degree in the United States. By the end of the Civil War, at least 22 African Americans had obtained degrees and were practicing medicine. So we have to first 22. This is before 22. The Civil War started. There were 22 actual physicians with a medical degree. Many practiced through apprenticeship. So there were probably a lot more doctors who obtained their professional license through apprenticeship.
Okay. So we definitely know apprenticeship does not work in the U.S. today. So we definitely know you're not allowed to do apprenticeship. If I heard somebody say, hey, I did apprenticeship as a doctor, I would immediately get my ass the fuck up out of that chair. I'm like, okay, you're not about to fucking guinea pig on me, asshole. Like, fuck out of here. Like, especially at no damn VA. I mean, y'all must really be fun with like playing around with sutures and stuff.
But no, let's be honest. No, now when you go to the doctor, crazy. You're lucky to see a PA. You're lucky to see a PA. What is it? You're lucky to see a PA now. Yeah, that's the way they're changing the medical practice, is to put an emphasis on physician assistants, a PA.
Go to the ER room.
Yeah, the ER, you're definitely going to, you're going to see.
The PAs are at the ERs. They're at the ERs working there. That's where they're at. I could have easily told you that. They're at the ERs. That's where they're at now. They work at the ERs late at night. So that's not a hard one. Most people don't even have health insurance. So that's a whole nother flagrant of a conversation. But I mean, I'm saying this, like, here's the thing about it. You don't hear other groups saying get rid of affirmative action. It's very interesting hearing Black people saying that. I think that's the funny thing about it.
We're not saying get rid of it. We're saying it's gone.
No.
It's gone. Reality.
No.
In college admission, it is gone.
No. Do you need it? The question was this simple: do Black people need it? Now, other groups don't mind taking advantage of it. And using it. But you're here, the people that fought for it say we don't need it. I find that very interesting that comes up from Black people, especially Black women. That's very intriguing that comes from. And then the argument is you reach back to the past and say back in the day when we're in a modern era. We're in a modern era, yet y'all keep reaching. Why do y'all keep going backwards? I always curious about that. Like, what's the time travel conversation of, we back in the day, but guess what? We're not back in the day. There was no iPhone back then. There was no tech. There was no screen, tablets, and stuff. Why do people keep reaching back and say, "Well,
Right.
back then we did this, we do that"? No, dude, we're here.
Okay,
But
I gave you
so that if
billion
that's
dollar
your
companies
argument,
that
that's a weak
billion. Wait a minute,
Hold on.
wait. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth, Joe. Because when I can
both
sit there and
sides.
say,
I'm not ad hominem you. You're not gonna like when I ad
no,
hominem you.
Okay.
no, I'm saying that we have billion dollar companies that are African American owned that employ thousands of people across the United States.
What are these companies?
What are these companies? Let's go
Yes,
to the
please.
list.
Well,
Robert Smith. Let's start with Robert Smith's company.
I knew you were gonna grab him.
guys,
Yeah.
before you do that, may I finish real quick? And if BMT, if you don't like back in the day, then I'll go ahead and reference more modern. Okay.
Yes, please. Please go with Martin.
You know, for me, whenever it comes to affirmative action, is it something that's needed, as in a necessity? No, it is not. Can these things be truly achieved if the desire is to achieve them? Yes. Honestly, I believe that's a handicap. And the main reason why is because today we have a lot of people or we have a lot of companies who now feel like they have to go ahead and put people in, even if they are not, on the same educational list, or even if they are not up to the caliber, just so that they will be able to go ahead and get governmental funds, or they'll be able to go ahead and get the funds from whatever source they're getting these funds from, just to be able to sit there and say that they are being diverse. And that's honestly not to benefit anyone other than cover their assets. So whenever we're sitting here and talking about today, even in the teaching, even in, the criteria that is being taught, yes, you have to have teachers of all, shades and colors, but if they're not really allowed to go ahead and give their personal experiences to be able to benefit, here, let me not say benefit, to be able to exercise on, the criteria, then what's the point? There is no point. On top of the fact that teachers aren't even allowed to be able to change the criteria to something that they see that their students need. Whenever it comes to children's ability to even be able to count or read, for that matter, um, no one's really. We can sit there and have diversity all day long, but if the will is not there, then it does not matter how much work and effort that you sit there and put into sitting there and trying to teach somebody. If they just think, well, it doesn't matter because I'm gonna go ahead and get this job because there's a whole lot of white people and I'm the only black one here. So yeah, they're gonna hire me regardless of whether I'm illiterate and I can't, my numbers are mixed up and they're upside down and this and that, and I can't, that almost kind of goes to, and some people are gonna sit there and not like what I'm about to say, but it doesn't take away from it being a fact. This also goes to the those with special needs. Have you guys ever went to a job and on an application it sits there and asks you, do you have any kind of anything that will hinder you, any kind of health issue that will hinder you, any kind of special need that may hinder you? That's also a type of affirmative action. But guess what? If we're going to sit there and go by, if we're going to go by, because affirmative action was supposed to be the same people with the equal criteria, or not criteria, but, the equal education to be able to go ahead and do these jobs. That's not indeed the case now. So if that is not the case now, it is just all about diversity. So a place can't get sued for not having at least one person that doesn't look like the rest. Then the initial affirmative action and the reason for affirmative action being there is now lost amongst the chaos. It's lost in the sauce.
It's interesting, and I'm going to say this, that I'm hearing from minority women that affirmative action has lost that it's not really needed.
I'll give you an example going along with what she says. They've replaced diversity. The word diversity.
Are you cutting me off? Can I finish what I got to say, and then you can get at it. I will give it to you.
I thought you were through.
How you say I thought I was through if I'm talking? How did you get that one? Come on now.
You took a breath.
Think what the fuck that mean?
You never heard that song?
Nachel, go smoke a cigarette. Smoke a cigarette, Nachel. You starting already. Go smoke your cigarette. Lord Jesus Christ. Yo, so listen, that's interesting. Minority women are bent about it's taking its course when y'all have benefited from affirmative action at jobs, schools, and different other facilities. And y'all are saying it's, well, we don't need it, but literally, that's very. I don't. I'm curious about this because then is it like, well, I got mine, so that means nobody else needs to worry about it? I mean,
No,
you sure? Because you're saying that
no,
we equaled up. Like, and so, okay, I got a question. Has the pay gap fairly been quantified for men and women? Is the pay gap fair now yet for y'all? Has it gotten fair for y'all yet?
it
No.
depends on the job.
No. Oh, whoa, wait. Okay, so, but see, one said no, and you said now it depends on the job. I ain't asked you about depends on the job. I asked you about the pay gap. Listen to the question. Has it gotten fair? Because
It
women are still
depends
arguing that.
on the job. It depends
Okay,
on the
so
job, and there are a lot of factors that bring into it because you also have to consider certain jobs are not open to women. Certain
why,
well-paid jobs are just not open to women.
why,
And then you have to
why?
also look at the amount of time it takes you to get to that job. So if we're going to say store manager, male store manager versus female store manager, both of them work the same number of hours, same number of days. For the most part, yes. But then we start adding in jobs like that require a lot of physical strength and danger. They tend to pay more. There are fewer women in those jobs. But if does a male nurse make the same amount of money as a female nurse? Statistically, on average, yes. You just have women who tend to leave the.
Why would they make more? And literally, why should they make more? I'm just trying to figure out if
I didn't
literally if
say
the
who's making more. I said there are certain
okay,
jobs because
okay.
it is dangerous. There are
Do you
more
know that?
men in that job.
Do you know that's one of the reasons? You do know it's one of the reasons for affirmative action, right? It also deals with pay, right? You do know that, right? It
Yes.
is okay. So, literally, I want you to understand the argument. You're saying it's run its course. Yet when we see people going up on court cases, finding out that hey, I was not getting paid fairly, I was not getting equal treatment. You do know
Okay,
now.
The Lilly Ledbetter Act. We're talking. If we're going to
You're
talk about
saying
law, the Lilly Ledbetter Act found that women tended to not ask for raises as aggressively as men did,
what?
and that the Lilly Ledbetter Act extended the statute of limitations to bring a lawsuit for discrimination based on you not being paid the same amount of money as your male counterpart. And that came into effect during President Obama's first term. So that has been in effect basically 10 years now. So
Okay.
let's stay with reality. In the
So hold on,
last,
wait. So let's look at that
2023.
reality. Let's look at that reality. Let's look at that reality. The fact that it took that long, mind you, there are more single parent households that have not been getting fair wages, and yet that's a problem. That well, they're just not as aggressive. Do you not think? Do you not think that these people probably did try to get a fair, equal wage, even though minimum wage is taking so long to actually be fair for a livable wage? But here we're hearing this that hey, well, they just not as aggressive. Well, is it not they're aggressive, or is it a boy? Is it a certain type of club that you should be thankful that I'm paying you at all? Because that's the crazy part about it that I'm just trying to figure out about these kind of things. That you're talking about disenfranchised people that literally have brought up numerous times. You know, I could bring up the court case of the farmers that literally have been getting crappy deals with their harvests. And literally the government's like, hey, we'll deal with your court case when we get to it. So now that they are forced to do it, that's unfair. Why do they get to say that? Why do they get that? Like, I mean, that's why I find it very interesting when Black people spit at the hardships of people who came before them and say, well, we're done with this. We did our job. So y'all should be good. If that was the case,
No, that's
then
what
I would
people
have
are
been.
saying. You're putting words in people's mouth.
But some people are saying that, Michelle. If that's the case, I would have been said, well, y'all need to go ahead and cut that damn check And then so that way, hey, cut my damn check, and me and mine will gladly say, fuck your school. I'll build my own goddamn school. Fuck your check. I don't need your damn school. Fuck Duke, fuck Harvard, fuck Yale, fuck all them other schools. I'll build my own damn school. But see, they never cut that damn check. So you got to go deal with them. Now, see, that's the thing about it. Why this affirmative action is a pain in the ass. Because anytime we try to do something differently, they had a problem with it. But then y'all said, well, we had it good at that time. No, nigga, we didn't always have it good. Why do you think they said, hey, we coming to get our check? Boom, boom, Martin Luther King shot. Everybody who said they coming to get their check, they got shot. So it really, saying you want to get some kind of affirmative check got your ass popped. Honestly, I wouldn't even ask for a damn check sometimes. But that's they scared us into asking for the fucking money.
Martin Luther King was not asking for, he was not asking for reparations. Martin Luther King was basically saying, you gave white people land grants. You did not give black people land grants. Where are the land grants that we should have equally gotten with white people?
Why should they not? Why look at that context. Black farmers ask for a land grant, yet they cannot get a land grant.
Let me go ahead and speak on something real
Labor
quick.
is real, y'all. Labor is real, y'all.
Whenever it comes to the affirmative action, I think you may have misconstrued me. I'm sorry, my dog in the background. I'm going to go ahead and try to make this as plain as I can. Whenever I'm saying, and I believe this is also other, minority women, as you put it, we're not saying that it's no longer good, take it up. What we're saying is the initial reason for it has now lost its effect because the initial reason has now been lost. And now the initial reason for having it is something other than what it was advertised to be. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
now,
Al. Okay, go ahead, Al. But I'm just asking, what has it been lost to? If you don't use it, then you lose it.
Well, see, here's the thing. We've been using it. And honestly, it has been very, very helpful in very, very, in many situations. But kind of like what I was bringing up earlier. Now it's about diversity versus about the equal chance for someone that has the same amount of information or the same amount of education, someone who is able to do the job and perform the job better than you. Other than just because they look different or there is a different a different formality that they may have. But if they're able to do the job just as well as you or better, okay, some of these people nowadays, like we were just talking about, we have some of these people that can't even read. And then if they're getting in via affirmative action, how are you able to sit there and do the job at a rate that is better than me, and you can't even read the contract of what your job is? How are you able to do the job better or, equal to or better than me, and you can't even count your drawer? Please make it make sense. And so then it went from, making sure that we have somebody that is able to efficiently do the job the way we need it versus what we have now is, oh, well, you know what? We don't want to be sued for sitting there only having white people in here, or only having 2 black people in here. So let's go ahead and make it about diversity. The idea behind it has switched. Just because you call it the same name does not mean it has the same origins. And so if the origin has been lost, then honestly, the origin, which is initially what we were looking at whenever we sit there and talk about affirmative action, if that's been lost, then it has ran its course. Whenever you sat there and changed it to, completely to fit something else or to fit another narrative, if that makes any sense.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Not to interrupt. What she's basically saying is they took affirmative action, which said if you have 2 equal candidates, the job should go to the minority. What they took affirmative action and turned it into diversity, saying, we can't find any black people that are equal to white folks. So we're going to have to lower our standards to try to get some black folks to fill some seats. We didn't want that. That's not what we wanted. We didn't want you to say, we want women we want the best qualified. And we said we could be the best qualified. We've shown throughout history, not just before slavery, before slavery, during slavery, after slavery, we've shown that we can rise to the occasion. But for being forced and turned away at the door because of racism. So we would sit outside the door and listen to classrooms sometimes because we were not allowed into the classroom, but we still got that education. That is
Now,
why we're saying we're not panicked about affirmative action going anywhere because it wasn't doing anything for us. It was actually hurting us more than it was helping us.
now I can't really agree with all of that, but now I'm going to sit there and say now we have people that are in the classroom that literally sleep during the class. They couldn't care less.
Okay.
They're not motivated, ambitious. They're not, they don't really see it as, well, you know what, I have to get this because you know what, if I don't get this job, it's going to make my family look bad. It's going to sit there and it's going to wear and tear on me. It's going to do, they don't have those same mindsets. They don't have the same motivation. And if we're going to sit there and talk about the checks and balances of affirmative action, there are a lot of other qualifications that we also have to put in here. The lack of the bonds that we used to have as a family, the lack of respect that we have as a community, especially with the younger generation, the lack of care, the lack
See,
of
now
willpower.
you're branching off to moral compass versus that of, hey,
And not, well, see, it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
really moral. It's not really moral. It's just literally about having motivation and ambition. Now, think about it like this, bro. If everybody can sit there and become millionaires being off of YouTube and TikTok, then why would somebody want to sit there and sit behind the desk? But mind you,
But see,
that's where affirmative action is really sitting there and taking place the most. Yes,
but
we can
hold,
sit there and say we have affirmative action on social medias, but that's only to sit there and be able to go ahead and take your content. And then what happens with that? Have the content and stolen. And
but
if
see,
go ahead.
okay. So let me just say this that, and we're joined here also with Low Value J. Welcome, Low Value Woman. Um,
I'm just here
that
so I don't get
they
fined. So
like
you don't.
when they give out these certain numbers, right? When they give out these certain numbers, and shout out to Con Man, who also is a young black brother going to college. I believe Jay went to college. A lot of people who went to college and had to use different programs to help them, especially a lot of minorities. Um, Conman says to a degree, but there are still much more white employed than the minorities, especially in
Well,
roles of management. That's not due to us being as qualified.
I
Um,
wanted to say this. Affirmative
yes,
action benefited white women.
yes,
That's
it
really the
definitely
whole
helped.
conversation right there.
I agree. I
Affirmative
agree.
action, most
It,
90% of affirmative action was for white women. So it's quite interesting that SCOTUS, and you know how I feel about Clarence. Don't even get me started on my boy
stop
Clarence.
crying,
Oh
stop
my
crying
god!
for
But
me.
anyway, I have hated that man for a long time. But anyway,
We went in
um,
the dark, both
but
of
I'm
us.
sure the irony behind it. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna say that. The irony behind the whole thing with Clarence Thomas is he wouldn't be where he was if it wasn't for affirmative action. So make that make sense. But anyway, um, for the most part, affirmative action has benefited white women. So the Asian students, like the Harvards and the Yales of the world, actually have tons of Asian students. So the Asian students that had filed this particular lawsuit, it's gonna backfire on them because they're gonna. It's not the black people that's taking their spots. It's not the blacks and the Latinos
Nope,
taking their spots. It's
nope,
legacy students, and they've said that it's Harvard. Harvard. Do you think W. Bush would have gotten into Yale on his own accord? Hell no.
nope,
So
no.
he was a legacy. You know what I mean? And most of the students at the Harvards and Yales of the world are legacy students. So it's not the black. So these Asians, what they're gonna find out is that it's not the Negroes that's fucking y'all up. That's all.
No.
But yeah, white women have and still are benefiting from affirmative action.
I find it interesting, right? Because I just saw black women. Y'all were just happy about Golden Sachs and the government saying, "Hey, since y'all are going to college and doing X, Y, and Z, how about we start talking about some grants to help y'all become business?" Now,
Well, because that's
you
a
don't
different.
think
But see, that's not affirmative action. That's because
I know, I
black
know,
women
I
are
know,
getting
I
into
know it's not,
degrees at a
sis,
higher
but
rates now.
I know, I know it's not, sis, but I'm saying that when you're starting, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to be an investor, right, I'm going to look at the trajectory of who's most likely. Like, if I got to be honest, you have it where more of our women are going to school than our men. Our men,
Right. And
give them
think
a
about it like this,
forklift.
because they already know that they've been giving white men money, billions and billions of dollars for hundreds of years. So why not throw a couple pennies to the Negro broads? Like, seriously, that's probably what they sat in the boardroom and said.
Mm-hmm.
You, you know, when it comes to college right now, it's about, with all demographics, it's about 51-49, with women for the first time exceeding men entering into the military. I mean, to college. And that could be because you have men who are exploring other options, such as, maybe I want to go out and work on an oil rig and make like, $50 to $75 an hour versus, having to go into corporate America and make like $25 an hour. So there are people who are re-evaluating trade. They're looking to be plumbers, electricians, to own their
No, they're
own.
not. No, they're not. Michelle, I can tell you right now, if I were to go on to Angie's, go to Angie.com app.
Angie's List.
You Angie's List. You got .com, you got Angie's List app. You go there right now, you ain't gonna see no young people. You're gonna see people in their 40s and up, or you're gonna see Pedro, Maria, and Taco. You ain't gonna see no young aspiring white man or some. No, listen, the
Especially down here. I
trend.
mean, especially down here. Maybe it's different in other places, but I know down here in
No
Florida, that's the
shit. I'm
case.
in South Carolina, and I can tell you right now. Good luck. Listen, all them. Listen, call the AC man. You gonna get an older man that's gonna come out there and ask him, hey, how many do y'all need? Are y'all hiring? Shit, yeah, we hiring. We run. Listen, I'm trying to tell you right now.
But
No,
see, here's the thing. Yes, it's funny how they're pushing trades. They're like, oh, forget college, go to trade school. Trade school costs money. So I don't understand. Like when they keep with the whole student loan thing and all that other stuff that's going on, they're like, well, people can learn trades. Yeah, they could learn trades, but it also costs money. Like I remember for a very short time, I worked in the billing department of an automotive school.
Mm-hmm.
The freaking automotive school, like the program was like $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when they tell people to go get a trade, trades are just as expensive as college. That's the only thing. That, like I don't understand that part. But yeah.
I can agree to that because I'm having to sit there and pay for my son to sit there and go to HVAC, and he's going to school, to be an HVAC technician. And man, that shit is not cheap.
No, it
And
costs the same as like probably going in-state tuition somewhere.
it does. Now, granted, it is not as hefty as college, but also trade school does not take as long. So, I mean, my son was looking at it as the fact of, okay, I can either go to college for 4 years plus, or I can go ahead and be able to learn this trade in a year. That's
So,
what he's looking at it for. He
so
wants
I
to be
have
able
a
to
question.
his
I have
own
a
money.
question for you, BMT.
yes, ma'am.
Why do you think they're not pushing more? Because black men keep talking about benefits for women, in these spaces that women are getting all this stuff. So why aren't they pushing black men to go to nursing school? Because there's going to be a huge shortage of nurses on all levels,
I'm
CNAs,
gonna tell you
RNs,
why.
LPNs. So why
I'm
aren't
gonna
black men being pushed to go to nursing school? I'm sorry, Elisa, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you say nurse or teacher, those jobs automatically of imagery is of a woman because it's a
Nursing is
nurturing.
very lucrative these days.
No, I get you. I get you. But they look at it as because nursing it's a nurturing job. You have it's a very demanding nurturing job. You got to be very attentive. Shout out to all the nurses that helped nurse me back to health. It's a lot of men. They think of it as you just gonna be changing dookie diapers and having to do the most fucked up shit. When no,
I
those
heard
are
you looking for a
very.
night nurse, though. Let me stop.
I am looking still for. I'm gonna shut. Don't let me put my shit out there. Shut up, Jay. Like um uh the thing about it is this, that when it comes for that, a lot of men, and I hardly ever hear men talk about being nurses, and I can promise you, but I'll hear a lot of black women. I just worked at this party. There were like 9 black female nurses, all on their own house, cars, all kind of said stuff. Oh, they were
And they're
balling out
only
of
like an
control.
18-month program. You know what I mean? Like you literally can come out in like a year. And you know what I mean? And they're not pushing that. And I just found that it was very interesting. Like they're not pushing that to people.
Well,
Well,
wait, hold on. BMT does have a really good point. As women, we already understand that men are very visual. So whenever they're hearing anything, they put a vision to it. And a lot of times, whenever men are hearing nurses, they're already thinking of women. Now, this can be white women, black women, Hispanic women, the diaspora. It doesn't matter what race is under the umbrella. They literally think of women. This can also be that, that's what they think of nurturing is, they're thinking of a mother figure. Whenever you're nurturing, you're literally bringing one back to life, or you're sitting here and bringing health back in them. For some reason, whenever they hear doctor, they think differently. And
they
that,
think,
I mean,
man,
to me, it's crazy. Exactly. And it's crazy to me that they can sit there and literally have a difference between the two. But I do have to agree with that because I actually had a conversation with a man, who actually went to school to be a nurse. Now, mind you, his motives for going to be a nurse were some heinous motives. He was in an abusive
Jesus Christ.
relationship. He wanted to be able to beat his girlfriend up without having to take her to the hospital and make sure she was all good. That's dedication. That's on some scary shit, but that's dedication, okay? But
That's
at the
not a good
end of
story.
the day, even whenever he sat there and said it, he said that was the only reason he wanted to be a nurse, is so he could know how to sit there and do this. It had nothing to do with nurturing anybody else, had nothing to do with bringing somebody else to life. It had nothing to do with all these other things. He was doing it for his
Damn, it all
health.
makes sense now. My abusive ex was a nurse.
Oh my
See?
God, why are y'all fucking this up?
Sorry.
All
I
right,
mean,
Can I
no,
chime
no more
in?
talking. No more talking for you two. Con man, walk up from captain, no
Holy
captain.
shit.
Jesus Christ, you leave the black women to talk too long. They start talking. They go off to enough. Let's, Con man, please say the conversation. The fuck.
Hey, how y'all doing? I don't
um,
know if y'all ladies remember me. How y'all doing?
Shout out to Captain No Captain.
I don't know if I remember slow. As you-
You kind of going in and out. BMT, that conversation we had when we was talking, you know what I'm talking about, with Attorney Nachel.
There's a feedback from somebody. Can y'all mute up, please? All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, brother. Yes, go ahead, brother.
Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, we spoke before. But yeah, man, I've had so I don't really like how the conversation is being led. I was invited to come on here. The reason why I say that is because we're talking about affirmative action, and I don't know how we got from talking about affirmative action to now talking about black men and why they don't choose certain jobs, and the ones that do choose the job are these heinous, criminal, disgusting beings. And we're having this general conversation about black men, and we're using the wrong representations of, oh, well, when we don't even get people who want these jobs, and then when they do get these jobs, we get the heinous black men who's doing it for all the wrong reasons. And I'm sure that that's not the majority. Maybe
It's
there
not.
is some
It's not.
minority from you guys' personal life, and I'm not going to dictate that. We all come from messed up backgrounds, but from the viewer's point of view, from listening to this podcast, I'm just gonna say it makes black men look absolutely terrible. So I just
Thank you,
want to
comment.
chime in
Thank you.
to also, it's
But did
also
you
good.
listen to the
I just want to,
beginning? We just started. We only talked about that for like less than 5 minutes. We were talking. It
no,
led
I
into
got that.
that.
That's why I said
Okay.
that's what, and that's how, that's how I started off. I said how the conversation's being led. I didn't talk about the beginning. You feel me? I was talking about how it's being led now. You know what I'm saying? But
No, we just got to talking
so
about vocational careers.
right. So I just wanted to talk about the cultural part that we've been talking about, because it was also brought up about YouTubers, how that's lucrative, and people don't necessarily talk about affirmative action when it comes to YouTube, but they do actually, which is why I'm glad that you guys brought that up, because even black YouTubers have been complaining for time and time again that they have not been getting the same analytics as white people, and that YouTube has been actually um, nerfing a lot of their content, because they're not, even if you guys are even familiar with TikTok, how many times have TikTok been sued because black content creators have been getting ripped off and not being able to get the credit for the content that they've been putting out.
Right. You're absolutely right.
That was a famous black young lady who did a famous TikTok dance that TikTok did not allow her video to get the numbers that it did, and then when she tried to claim the income from that video, she had to sue them to get her due diligence. You know what I'm saying? But gave all the credit to the white other content creators that stole from her. You know what I'm saying? We got people doing that right now with the girl who just did the song. How that song go is
Queen,
I will be one of the great.
Yeah, the King. King's Affirmation. Yep.
Exactly. So like this is not a phenomenon that only happens in those spaces. It happens all over, especially when it comes to black and brown people, black men and black women. I also want to talk about the roles of leadership when we talk about doctors versus nurses and all of that. BMT made a good point when he was talking about that being a nurturing role. There are just certain cultures of work environments that do not work for black men specifically, and that's being a nurse, and that's being in a role of leadership, because the way that the world looks at black men. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not talking about you black ladies specifically, but even just the examples that was put out there. Imagine black men being in that role. It's already hard in a general aspect of how we're being looked at, right? Being a black person in that space. But then on top of that, taking care of a woman that's sick or elderly or a young lady or whatever, we are under so much of a huge microscope in a guise that it's hard for us to flourish in those type of environments. And I'm also speaking personally, me and BMT are both military men, that I was told by my first sergeant, a black first sergeant, that if you are going to be in the military and you make it to this rank, you're going to get an Article 15 at least once. I was told that by my first sergeant. You know what I'm saying? Because when you are in a certain culture, it is hard. Wait, you're
fading out.
You're roboting really bad.
Yeah, you faded. You're fading on me, Con. While he's thinking, you got it. Yeah, come back in. Yes, yes, BNT. I did ask to be a CNA. I wanted to help people rather than tote a gun, and I was denied. I was denied by.
Are you talking about in the military or just in the outside?
In real life, I wanted to be a CNA, Jay. I wanted to be a CNA, and I was denied by a woman. And see how you laugh at me like it's a fucking joke.
I'm laughing at you personally, yeah, because I.
Okay, yeah, right. You about to get kicked the fuck off my parents. I wanted to be a CNA. Why can't I be a CNA?
You can be a CNA. No, but I do it with all seriousness, all bullshit.
And y'all see this, how a black man wants to be a CNA, and it's a joke.
Did you keep asking the same black woman, or did you diversify and ask like other people? Could you work for them as a CNA?
Okay, that's a fair enough question, Nachel. That's fair. I had a company that I really want to work for. I was willing to go buy a scrub. I bought me 2 pair of Crocs, and I can at least bench press at least about 300 pounds. I can pick up an old woman if I have to, and I know how to walk off.
To the course and all of that, or you just know how to do that stuff. There's a course you got to take. You can't just show up. You have to get certified. I'm
a father. I know how to take care of people.
I understand that,
an old person is just like a baby.
You're not wrong.
But part of certified means you actually took some kind of credentialing. Did you take
Yes.
that?
Okay.
Training.
No, I didn't.
I have
Okay.
listen. I wanted to answer James Doe's question
And yeah, and this is why I don't give a fuck. I don't
before
give a fuck.
Con
Fuck y'all.
before Con before Con has started. I just want to answer. James Doe had mentioned. Damn it, where is his thing? Oh, he said, do apprenticeships in skilled crafts fall under affirmative action? I wanted to say this. I actually have a theory about it, whether or not it's right or wrong. I have a theory about that. The reason I said yes and no is because I guess I would want to know, how do you get an apprenticeship? First of all, like, doesn't it have to be through a business owner of, like, you would have to own, like, if you wanted to be apprentice Joe for like a plumbing company, wouldn't you have to like know the owner or be an owner or something like that?
You got to first find a certified person in that craft, like masonry, uh, um, pretty much carpentry.
Right, let's just say plumbing
There's
for the sake of
electrician.
conversation.
Okay,
Right, we'll just
okay,
say
yeah. So
plumbing for the sake of conversation.
somebody has to be certified by the
Okay.
state, and
Like,
they have to agree to take you under, and they can start training you, which they have courses that you're supposed to go to. And as you start to learn that of the guidelines of that course, which, like you said, get your certs, then they start taking you under their wing, that certified instructor, and they start teaching you, and they start actually guiding you. Just like how, like in the medical field, they start out in medical school, and then after a while, they got to start doing their labs, and they got to start actually doing their
Right.
journey. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be them
So
as
I was just
apprentices.
going to
Yeah.
say this to answer James's question. The reason I say yes and no is because a lot of us weren't allowed to get those kind of businesses back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean like even probably up until the 60s and 70s. So those businesses, especially up north, and Joe knows this, especially like in the, to tri-state area and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff was dominated by Italians and Irish. So we couldn't get in with the Italians and Irish to get that quote unquote apprenticeship in order to get that trade and so on and so forth. So that's why I
Well,
said yes
no,
and
bro,
no.
we were locked out of that shit. We were locked out.
Right,
Good
right, right,
boy.
right. So I think, I don't know if it's necessarily an affirmative action thing versus a thing of all in who you know.
It was that's I'm glad you brought that up, Jay. And shout out to my uncle, LAR, for coming up here. But I know he also went to college for psychology. Shout out to my uncle. Um, listen, there was a lot of jobs. I can tell you, for me, especially when I was in New England. Listen, you had to know somebody to get in that damn job, especially especially like certain medical jobs or certain jobs that were unlocked by certain cultures. Yeah, you weren't getting in. They'd hire one of their own. You just weren't getting in. And good luck taking that shit to court.
The
You,
police
you
force too, especially like the New York City Police
the
Department
Irish
was
own the damn police force.
notorious. Yeah,
The
in
Irish own
Boston,
the
in New
police
York.
force.
Yep.
They own that shit. So y'all Negroes, y'all never gonna get captain and this shit. Yeah, you might get that and be put in that position, but your hands are gonna be tied up with like bullshit crime. You ain't gonna never be running that. No, the Irish run the police force. That's a mafia. That's a mafia. So yeah, good luck with that shit.
drop down.
We're joined here by my good old uncle. Welcome, Uncle LAR. We here on the conversation from attorney Nachel. She brought up a conversation on, can Black people make it without affirmative action?
I have to go, guys. Have me on
All
the
right,
panel.
all right, sis.
Bye.
Bye.
LAR, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How y'all doing?
We're doing all right. Doing all right. Now, do any of y'all think that we can make it without affirmative action? Do y'all think like that's run its course? I just want to know.
I said yes, because look, one of the things I learned, I had to learn this, that the NFL had an agreement not to recruit Black men. They just said, we're not going to do it. And then in about 1945, the Rams wanted to move to Los Angeles. And they set up there, but it was a public arena. So in order to participate in the public arena, they had to have Black people on the Rams. So Kenny Washington had gone to UCLA, again, a public school. He had been an all-star athlete, but white people had told other white people, black people just can't play professional football. They just can't. They're just not equipped. They don't have the intellectual ability to do that. But once that agreement was pushed out of the way, you see the NFL now. But, you know, white men suddenly realize.
Are they making money like that, though? Are they really making money like that, though?
It depends on the team. It depends on the player.
Oh, see, hold on. See,
I mean,
here's the funny thing about it. You'll have that Negro run that damn pigskin, and you'll have a shitty goddamn athlete. We ain't gonna say no names, and they will make way more than that goddamn Negro. I'm sorry. I know y'all like Prime and all them other Negroes that can run that ball and shuck and jive and dance that Kool-Aid man dance, but they weren't making like some of them. Hell, they got there and said, wait, why don't we even have coaches? Oh, wait, you got to go to school. Elliot, wasn't that a thing? And you got to go to school for that. You can't just be no damn
it's
coach.
like we're just as long as black men have been in the NFL and the NBA, we've been dominating that sport for. Why is there like so much background somewhere?
That's you, girl.
TV is on.
That's you, baby.
It's like as many years as we've been in the NFL and NBA too, we're just now starting to become coaches and owners, which is wild. And we're barely that. So
who is affirmative action gonna affect who? Like,
you missed that part. I said affirmative action affects white women. It always has.
Nah, they gonna be straight. I'm a firm believer that affirmative action doesn't affect black men because we were at the bottom of getting it. So I think everybody else is probably gonna have a bigger problem than we will. Because they're not accustomed to not getting it.
And I also think we're going to finally get a lot of white people. We're going to get them to shut the fuck up, because I have about 6,000 followers, and I can honestly say that I'd say I have about 6,000 followers on Facebook. And
where the fuck I've heard followers be on our channel?
Because they don't want to talk. They don't want to talk.
They don't want to talk to me. Of course, they don't want to talk to no damn Negro. Of course, they don't. I'll be watching your little white friends.
Yeah, and they will sit up there and say, it's like amazes me that 13% of the population has taken a job away from every white person in the United States to let them tell it. But when you listen to the baby boomers talk, they all have a story about how they lost out to a black person because they had to hire a black person. So that one black person in town must have got all the jobs from the white people. And see, I will honestly tell you that when I first came back to Dallas, Texas in the 90s, we were like, I came from DC, so I was used to seeing black lawyers everywhere. But I came to Dallas and it was like, where are the black lawyers? And I should go back 1 second. I went to Fort Worth, which is 30 miles from Dallas. And I was literally told by the other black lawyers, go over to Dallas. They accept black lawyers in Dallas. I was like, what? What do you mean? I got to go to Dallas to get accepted by white people? So I went to Dallas and got a job at a black corporation. And when I started, the corporation was doing $45 million annual sales. One black man who had been a postal worker, who had dropped out of college to take care of his young daughter, had become a millionaire that was employing me and 480 other black people. And he opened my eyes that part of what we do to ourselves is we listen to their narrative about us. So that's why I went back and said, yes, even before affirmative action, there were doctors, there were lawyers, there were teachers, there were professors, there were designers. We were some of the most incredible and are some of the most talented and gifted people God has ever put on the face of this earth. And if Joe looks through his notes, he will see where my grandfather, John R. Lynch, told white people that back in 1872 about how gifted we were. That if you would just get out of our way, you already see we surpass you in music.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't be surpassing no motherfuckers. How do you surpass the person who writes your damn check? How do you surpass the person who writes your check?
Nobody is passing Taylor Swift right now.
Nobody.
Not even
Taylor Swift be goddamn gentrifying every fucking thing. Ain't nobody beating that white bitch.
But that is about, if you're going to say talent is about measured only by the monetary return on your investment, then I mean, no. Some of the most talented people. Look how long it took for Anita Baker to be discovered. The woman has one of the most beautiful voices.
Okay, you tell me. Go ahead.
Here's the thing about talent and affirmative action that we don't actually discuss enough. All these other groups who've gotten and used affirmative action, how come they don't have as much talent and success as they should after all of these years? They have dealt with a whole lot less suppression and oppression under quote unquote affirmative action. Why don't we? Because everybody talks about it as if Black people, we're getting stuff we're not qualified for and we're not good enough at. But what about all these other groups? How come they haven't? They should be. And we like to say people are miles ahead of us, but they're miles ahead of us in going to school, not doing other stuff.
I think the thing about it, Uncle, right? You'll hear a bunch of these dudes. Did you know that there's a college for rappers? There's a rap college, and I didn't even know that. Like, here's the thing about it. Which one? And you and I have this conversation about who makes more money: the guy who works the machine, or the guy who raps on the mic. And we all want to be that guy who's on the damn mic, but we never want to be the guy who signs the contracts and is on a machine. You know, I was surprised. I'm like, damn, they're the richest people. And it'd be Asian and white kids, white nerdy kids writing all these Negro songs. They don't care to be in the front anymore. They like, hey, you got to
answer LAR's question. It's because remember, that's why they keep saying that first it was the Black people taking all their jobs. Then it was the Asians taking all their jobs. Now it's the Mexicans taking all their jobs. But what I want to know is why they're not out in these fields, these strawberry fields and these citrus fields down here in Florida, picking this shit since the meatball sent them fucking people back. Why the fuck they ain't out here picking that shit? Is what I want to know. Since the Mexicans are taking all their jobs.
Here's what I mean by what you're saying. Asians, we used to say as Black people, there's a glass ceiling. Asians say there's a bamboo ceiling, right? So if you got affirmative action and you still hitting a quote unquote bamboo ceiling, then obviously you're not doing as good as you say you are. You know what I'm saying? Hispanics, and we out here, they killing it, they doing this thing. Okay, and even when you got immigrants that are Black coming from Africa and the Caribbean, people say they killing it. And what I look at in society now is I see all these other groups who used to make fun of Black people for cooking and entertaining and doing sports because that's the only way, quote unquote, Black people could make it, or in crime. I see all these other groups doing that now. I see Asians, Hispanics, and other Blacks from other places. Somehow it went from we're doctors and lawyers and educated and engineers and tech to now these people trying to be comedians and actors and rappers and talking about they dope boys of all groups. So I'm like, wait a minute, what's really going on here? Because now it seems like, you know, in the words of Paul Mooney, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga at this point.
Hell no, I don't even want to be a nigga.
Yeah. They want our hue, but they don't want our blues. But
I don't
that's a story that's older. That's a tale that's old as time. You know what I mean? Like, we'll never know why.
I think, but see, that's the thing about it. Like Listen, man. Like I say this, and I know this is fucked up, and I know a lot of people get tired of it, but I say, listen. Yeah, you can take affirmative action. I don't give a fuck for that. Take that shit, but give me that reparation check. I don't need you. Give me that shit. I promise you. I'll hit the boots. Run. I will build y'all a goddamn nice little trailer park school. Y'all can go do all y'all classes and shit. My shit will be way better than Umar shit. Y'all get all that day. I'll get y'all. I'll go to the store, get y'all Sam's Club snacks
Umar's a
and lunches.
scammer, but that's a conversation for another day. Anyway.
But see, the thing about it, and that's fair enough. But the thing about it is this, and this is why I brought up to Nachel. I said every time we tried to do something, it got shut down. Every time we try to do something, you know what I'm saying? Like LeBron's friend who was signing people. What did they tell him? You got to go to school. You got to get this. You got to get that. And after a while, we were like, hold up. When the fuck did you have to do all this shit? Y'all weren't doing this with all y'all friends.
But you know what? Case in point, as a matter of fact, because we were talking about that, since we're actually talking about the Supreme Court, the woman that's on the Supreme Court now, she is literally the most qualified judge up there. But she's gotten the degrees from all the top universities, but the 3 picks that the other person put in, they don't have nearly as much education as she does. So it's funny how here we are still having this conversation, you know, how many years later, we're still having this conversation where we have to literally be the best at the top of the top of the top of the top of everything in order to just even get a second look. Whereas on the other side, they just get a wink and a nod and they're the CEO, vice president, you know, on and on it goes.
That's what I'm saying.
No, in all fairness, Ketanji is the best qualified, most qualified on the bench. But there was a particular route that you had to go on if you had to get on that DC Court of Appeals. She knew what she was doing. She watched and observed. So that is why I'm saying that, yeah, you know, we're looking at Kavanaugh and all of his, you know, buddy friends and his goofiness, but he did go to very good law schools. He did have very good clerkships. He played the game well. They just were a little shocked that a black woman played the game.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, the issue with all of this stuff with education is kind of a hustle because we act like we live in a country that straight A students with perfect SAT scores actually run the country or run these businesses.
Hell no.
That's not what goes on.
Them niggas working at Verizon.
Right. We talk about B and C students who are actually the most successful in the country. When people go, oh, I can't get into Harvard. Who cares? Like, it's more successful people outside of Harvard at other universities than in Harvard. It's a bunch of people running around saying they went to Ivy League schools, but you really, at this particular point, don't see a bunch of Ivy League people, quote unquote, moving and shaking and running America. That becomes a problem. This is not 100 years ago.
Yeah, but we forget ALC. She went to Brown. A lot of people, we don't know where they went to school. Sheila Jackson Lee went to Yale. Yes, the people that are running the government tend to be from a very tight-knit circle. But as far as, you know, you have to have a college degree to run a successful organization. I just said the first man I worked for dropped out of college. He had business acumen, but he dropped out of college and hired professionals.
Okay, but Nachel, let me ask you this question. No, but I'm asking you this: the people that y'all naming, what is, and we're looking at now. What is the algorithm for that to happen nowadays? But that when I keep bringing it up now, say, hey, we're looking at right now. That gap or that hole is getting small. Like, I mean, people listen. They didn't just get rid of affirmative action. They got rid of student debt forgiveness. Got rid of that shit. So I don't know how the fuck some of these motherfuckers paying for school now or paying off their debts now because that looks like, hey, school gonna be tight for y'all kids. So, and if you can't pay them fees, they pull your degree. They can pull y'all degrees and y'all certifications. So, and a lot of people know they can't. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. There's plenty of stories out there. I had to go look it up. They're pulling people's goddamn shit. If you can't pay your stuff, they'll snatch your shit back. You can't practice if you can't pay your stuff off. And there's a lot of doctors that are not able to pay back all them school debts and shit. Like, no, there's a lot of them. Teachers, principals, all that shit. There's gonna be a lot of people without. I think school gonna become a caste system. I'm telling you right now, school's gonna become a caste system. Everybody ain't gonna be able to go. Y'all kids gonna be learning off of iPads and shit.
You have different programs together, and I keep seeing Robert Smith. I love me some Robert Smith because one, he's down here in Texas. Because Robert Smith, he actually paid off the tuition for all those boys at Morehouse. You know, that at the end of the day, we don't have to wait for them to pay for us to go to college. We're seeing a lot of millionaires and billionaires saying, you know, I am going to help other Black kids graduate from college. That's a beautiful thing. So we can pull resources together. I mean, like for state schools and things like that in Texas is a lot cheaper than obviously private school, but the lawyers get together and we actually do scholarships for law students at state schools. That's what we can afford to do. We do state schools. Maybe one of these days we'll be able to pick up some private schools, but right now that's all we can afford to do. That's why I'm not screaming and yelling when you have people like what's the brother's name in St. Louis? David Stewart. How many of us are talking about telling our kids they could be like David Stewart and become the Black Bill Gates and have a business worth daggum $16 billion? Yeah. Why? He doesn't sell to the Black community alone. He sells to Ireland. He sells to Denmark. He sells to Nigeria. Anybody who wants his software, he's selling it to them. He's growing and he's hiring other Black people as well as white people. He's a job creator. Richmond McCoy is down in Florida now. He owns Urban America. They have about $5 billion in real estate under management. There are a lot of very successful people out there that are job creators, not just for us, but for everyone else around. And they're contributing to the tax base. They're there for us. So it's not like it was in 1974 where we didn't have a lot of millionaires, much less billionaires, that we can absorb this. We can say, if our kids get into college and they can't afford to pay, we have a fund set up for them so they don't go into debt. We, as a community, they didn't say that we couldn't sit up there and set scholarships for specific people. They never said that. They can't tell a private person what they can do with their money.
Okay, so, but I'm gonna be for real. I'm not paying for nobody goddamn kids college. That shit is that's a dead talk right now in my ear. Like I got 4 churn. I ain't asking y'all to pay for them. That's BMT's motherfucking problem. Y'all pay for y'all damn churn. I'll pay for mine. Y'all kids fuck up at college. Y'all gonna have to eat that shit. I'm not eating y'all kids fucking up at school. That's some crazy shit right there. No, yeah, that's that problem. Y'all talking.
Athletes can also now start getting paid while they're in college. They can get endorsement deals. They can work out things like that, so that they're not.
They be getting in trouble too much.
Think about it. The people who can make money for the school get paid. Students don't make money for the school like that.
Exactly, they don't. Students don't get paid shit.
You know, the people on the dean's list are not the reason why people want to go to particular schools. The people in the athletic programs are now. That's what made some of these schools that were once institutions of higher learning and where very, very smart people went. That's how nobody remembers that Miami used to be kind of like an off-brand Ivy League school. They remember Miami for all the football. That's what they remember Miami for now. People don't remember. People forget Georgia Tech is a technical. They got hoopers there. couple of football players. That's what this stuff is now. Nobody, and even when it comes to like the students and helping out the students, in all honesty, the problem is it's cold-blooded. I gotta say it this way. We gotta actually be serious about who's going to school and what for. Because we got kids who say they want to go to school. You know, everybody who's been to college knows about the people who drop out in a year or get kicked out because they don't want to go to school, or the people who now they want to be social media influencers and forget to go to class and wind up getting booted because their grades, drop, or they just want to party. Like all of college is not necessarily overrated, but we as a people need to know, oh, this kid ain't built for college. Because some people go to college and finally think they grown and really become a screw up. And you knew there was a screw up and they was gonna screw it up before they went. It's a lot of kids who put their parents in debt behind that.
And also, Dr. Joyce Evans did a book. I can't remember the name of it, but she's a professor at North Carolina Central University. And what she noticed was that white students were sent to school to network. Black students were told you can party after you get through studying. You didn't go to school to party. Because I sit back now and think about my friends. We were at Duke University. We were around some of the most influential people in the United States. We're around their parents. I mean, I was like, I used to take Peyton Shirley's car all the time and drive it around. I didn't know Peyton Shirley's daddy daddy married one of the richest women in Texas. I didn't know that. Peyton was just a cool guy. But other people, my roommate, she was white. She's like, oh my God, you're friends with Peyton Shirley. Yeah, he's from Texas. Why wouldn't I be friends? But there are only like 5 of us from Texas. Me, Peyton, Hugh, and some other people I didn't know. Hugh, you know Hugh Allen? Yeah, I know Hugh Allen. That's my dog. Hugh Allen is Debbie Allen's little brother. They were taught to get to know the pedigree of the people that they were around. It was really, I learned so much from my roommate trying to brown nose with the families of influential people that it was just kind of like, I'm just Nachel. Hi, how y'all doing? But we're all alumni and we're close. And I think that that's one of the things that when you go off to college, yeah, Bill Gates dropped out of college and he became a billionaire. He married Melinda Gates, who is also from Duke. Melinda Gates went to Duke to get a husband. That was her whole deal. She went there, not necessarily graduate. She paid Nancy, her roommate, to do her homework. It's why do we send girls, boys to school? That is going to be one of the best times for them to meet other people that can help them throughout their careers, the rest of their lives. So that's just one of the things that I kind of noticed and read Dr. Joyce Evans' book, and she pointed that out, that whereas Duke had a culture to join a fraternity so you could get a summer internship, we joined fraternities so we could be in the step shows.
So here's the thing about it, and I put this out there. Y'all meet up. I think y'all got feedback on it. A lot of Black children or minority children don't have, and this is the reality. I remember I was talking to Pastor, and a lot of children do not have it where their parents have holistically all the means to pay for school or put them through school or to go get these networks or these one-offs. I'm sorry, but it's like when I was listening to Tim Scott talking about we have this or we got that. And I'm like, listen, dude, certain circumstances of doors that were opened up allowed for certain things to happen. But do you know why they were opened up? Do you know why there was a movie about a Black mom that fought for her kid? Because literally all they want to do was flunk him. So they made programs to help these kids. Like there was a lot of things done, and it's very interesting when I hear it because I'm like, it's like we're unraveling the basket to what people fought for to set up so that way the building blocks for other people say, hey, listen, we didn't got the funds, but we opened the door for the opportunity. Yeah, they could talk about the billionaires and the millionaires and stuff, but this is a realistic thing. When it comes back to the give back or the pay it forward thing, and this is something that you see, that's kind of that's a small pool. Now, black men, we have a problem with that. We need to get better with that. And we don't give back or reach back like we could. Now, black women, they're starting to do that. You're starting to see them do that with the hiring and all the other stuff. Other groups are doing that. This is why you see the Arabs and the Indians and a lot of other groups of men and women, they're hiring. Like when I go to the VA, there's a lot of Filipinos and there's a lot of Indians in there. There's a lot of them in there because they're making ways for their people to get in there. So I see black women in there. Usually the black men, and I'm gonna be for real, y'all are usually the custodians. Y'all are usually the people doing the labor of pushing the beds around and shit.
Well,
and
we
all that
already
other stuff.
established that black men don't want to get into nursing.
I got you with that, Seth. I got you with that. But but you get what I'm saying with all this, right?
Oh yeah, no,
So
I've gone to the VA.
it's
Gone. You are absolutely right, and I'm saying this even from the other side because I've gone to the VA with mother. I have quite a few times, and you're right. Is most of the doctors are Middle Eastern, and there are
right.
a lot of black women in all kinds of jobs. I would say there's black women probably all the way down, all the way up, like the receptionists, nurses, and I have seen at least in Tampa, I have seen a few black male doctors. So there are a few.
See,
There are a few. There are a few, but
we got this
I'm
issue
saying,
where we have either selective memory, or we don't remember what happened, or because we wasn't around, or we like to play stupid. So this is what winds up happening. Back in the day, college was cheaper for one. There were a lot of black men putting a lot of people on. Not just black, they weren't putting just black men on, they were putting a lot of people on. The people that they put on never returned the favor to black men in particular.
right.
So when we say, yo, brothers ain't doing nothing, no, that's not true. What happened was brothers helped out everybody and that pay it forward never went to black men or black young men. Let's just put it like that. The other part is this. It's funny, like we all went to school and we know how school works. Let's not act like if you go to school with a white person, a white man, a white woman, a black boy, a black man, a black woman, an Asian man, an Asian woman, Hispanic man, a Hispanic woman, Muslim man, Muslim woman, who's going to probably get treated the worst in school? The black guy. Who are the teachers going to give the worst time to? The black guy. So to act like, we don't know why these brothers ain't around. Maybe they got tired of getting treated like crap. That's all. When it comes to the academic side, that winds up fast forward into the employment side, of course that's what winds up happening. When I see people who are not black men in positions to hire people, they hire people that look like them. And at the detriment of black men. Knowing that if a black man was in that position, he would hire pretty much everybody. Only thing we're doing wrong is we need to just cut everybody off like they cut us off. Because there's a bunch of incompetent people that people looked out for.
I think what happened was, I've heard this from a lot of my friends and family, is during the 80s when we had puppies, it wasn't about, helping the next generation. It was just trying to make it yourself. You were the generation that had arrived. And we went from a puppy generation and yuppie generation that pretty much had to deal with not being able to move up because of the baby boomer generations. We have to understand that JFK was the same age as Ronald Reagan, all the way up to George Bush, that the baby boomers finally got control when Bill Clinton walked into office in the 90s. And by that time, he was in his late 40s, early 50s. You know, you had all these people that by the time they got promoted up to like a manager level, they were in their late 40s, 50s, and they offered them retirement because they said, look, we can hire somebody straight out of school that has a master's degree to do the same job, and you're making $300,000 to do what? My sister didn't go to college. She started working in 1970, my older sister. She started working in 1970. By the time 1999 rolled around, heck, this non-college educated person was making Demi $90,000 a year. What was she? A file clerk, experienced file clerk, but did they really need to pay her $90,000 a year? So during the 90s, they had this big, massive layoff of all of these baby boomer Black people, whereas suddenly it's like, where are all the other Black people? Well, there was this fear of, well, it's hard enough for me as being a Black person at this company. If I bring on another Black person, then if that Black person messes up, it's going to make me look worse than if I had hired a white person and that white person messed up. And I'm like, didn't you realize that maybe the Black person would have had your back more than the white person? So it was trust going on, a lot of trust issues going on in the 90s that led to Black men, you know, like your uncle said, feeling like especially Black men were not being nurtured. They were not being mentored. Look at the civil rights movement. Who has Jesse Jackson mentored to take over his role as the so-called leader of Black people?
I hope nobody. Let it all die with Jesse. Let it die with that nigga right there. Let it die with him. Let it die with Jesse. We can let that one die with him.
I was gonna say your boy Dr. Umar, but I'm gonna mind my business.
What's the brother's name from what's the brother's name? Terry Booker.
Who the fuck? Who are y'all? How are y'all get these leaders, man? I need to know how y'all get these leaders, bro. Like, is there some election I don't know about? Like, who? Where y'all getting these fucking leaders from, man? Like, I don't even know where these people are coming from. Like, and you can't use no Umar. Umar talking about fucking women, and he didn't even raise his own fucking kids. So I don't even know why y'all keep using Umar punk ass. That nigga don't. How does he have a
background noise?
Y'all got you got. That's your phone because we don't. That's the thing about it. When you start holding some of these people under the lens and start seeing their shit, now this is a bad issue. I agree that the payback. This is something I'm gonna say as a man that I had a problem with. That a lot of fellow Black men fear themselves of a younger Black man taking their spot. This is a big issue. I never had a problem with LAR ever worrying about me rising up as a content creator. I've never felt that energy from him. Okay? Never felt that. Now, if it's something else different, he always has my number straight to call me. But we did have this nasty green eye, and we've seen it even get out on media of the you got to come to me and kiss and to pay homage, kiss ass thing. I can respect that of what you did for me, but you're not going to tell me to kiss your ass like that. That shit is not happening. I can respect that, and I agree. But I do want younger brothers to.
I mean, those people end up being the abusers and child molesters. Anyway, sorry.
When it comes to men, we overdo it with Black men. We overdo it, like, because for all the people that you can say that wanted their ass kissed, there were more Black men who people told them to kiss their ass after they helped them. Those are the brothers that often get ignored, and they are the majority. The majority of brothers do for other people, and guess what? It's not returned. That's the majority.
Do you think that's a deeper issue, though, just in general? Like, just generally speaking, I feel like that's probably the throes of a deeper issue, just in general.
To me, the issue is it's kind of a projection where black men are the villain, but truth be told, the people who use black men are the villain.
Ooh. See, me, you gotta have we gotta have a conversation later on from the old to young. You know what I'm saying? We gonna have to have we miss
Because
our old
like even when
conversation.
you
We need
say
to go
from
have
old
it
to
about
young,
that.
look, even when you say from old to young, there's a shitload of black men who were mentored by other black men that they somehow they help everybody else, but don't help who?
Themselves.
No, they don't help the guys that mentored them. You
Well,
can run down a list of every
I think it's
successful black
because
man you know. He had a black male mentor, and that
and
he
some
don't
black
help
men they
at
get to
all.
a point though. They get to a point. I'm just gonna say black people are, but
I'm
black
sorry.
because I got yelled at for speaking about black men earlier. But I think that some people, black people, get to a point and it's just like they kind of just say "f you" to other black people. Like, I'm here now, and they go and get them a Becky, and then they act like they never existed in the hood, so to speak. Not literally speaking, but you know what I mean.
You can say that about a lot of Republican men. I just had
I
to
mean,
break it to some
I
people at
mean,
one
that's what I was talking about, but I didn't want to say that.
say.
Goddamn
Republican men
Tim
are the
Scott.
minority of the community, though. Republican men are the minority of the community.
I always have to sit back and go, okay, Republican men are so racist, then why is it that every Republican man, black Republican man, is coming in here with a Becky? It is so rare. I have one friend, other than Dr. Carson, that has a black wife. But it was a thing, like, she'll help me get into the door. She'll help me get in the door. But it's not just black Republican men who do it. It's, look at the newscasters on MSNBC. I mean, one of them's married to Jimmy Carter's daughter. That's what got him in the door. The other one's married to a white guy to get him in the door. I mean,
Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt.
yeah,
On and on it goes.
it's not a nepotism. You get in where you fit in a sense, but again, it comes down to: are we teaching our children? Hey, Glenda, you might want to try to marry a doctor. You might want to marry an up and coming politician. You might want to, when you go to college, Grant Hill. Nobody wanted to date Grant Hill. Nobody. That man was a catch. But when all of a sudden Grant Hill started dating Jada Pinkett, we were like, did you lose your ever loving mind? But Jada Pinkett had a plan. She was going to marry her a millionaire. She had said that from the jump.
You meant Will Smith, right? You meant Will Smith, not Grant Hill.
No, Jada Pinkett was dating Grant Hill before she did Jason's Lyric. That's when they ended their engagement.
Okay.
You can't really marry a woman that everybody done seen her panani all on the big screen, because you just couldn't control yourself. So everyone knew what Jada Pinkett was before Jada Pinkett knew what she was, or one that admitted to herself. Now she is,
Do you think it's an issue that a person like Jada Pinkett got all these passes, but if Jada Pinkett was a black man, do you know how long ago she would have been under the bus for her actions? Like, seriously. Like like Grant Hill, Will Smith, cool. I get it. But when we're looking at like same thing with affirmative action, we look at the minority of bad black men and ignore the majority of good black men. At the same time, even when y'all brought up the political part, nobody has that same energy for Kamala Harris. Nobody has that same energy for the de
yes, they do.
Blasio
Yes,
wife.
they do.
No, they do
They
not.
absolutely have the
No,
same
they
energy
do
for
not.
Kamala Harris. Yes,
No, they do not.
I've seen it. I've seen it in this. I've seen it on this
word.
On this page in this
No.
chat. I've seen it.
No, because I see black women wearing pearls and Converse. No.
But black men have had a lot of black men have had a lot of energy for Kamala Harris. Black women too, not as much. But
Yeah, a lot of black men have. You don't.
Okay.
Okay. Have black women had the same energy for Kamala Harris?
Well, no, some, but not nearly to the extent. You're right.
And black women My bad. You can see black men and black women saying Clarence Thomas is full of it. You don't see black men and black women saying Kamala Harris is full of it.
I, for the record, believe Kamala Harris is full of it because Kamala Harris is what every mother dreads. You want your daughter to grow up to be known for sucking a man's dick in order to get a job. That's not what young mothers taught their children. She is the poster child for ratchet. That's why I'm so glad that Ketanji is there, even though Ketanji's husband is a Caucasian. Ketanji played the game, and I thought that was most touching about her.
Nobody has any smoke for that either.
She apologized to her daughters. She's about to be named on the United States Supreme Court, and she apologized to her daughters for the sacrifices they had to make to get their mother, where she was today. That had been her dream. I had a friend who went to law school with her that she's now vice president of KPMG. Same Harvard class, but I will tell you, she sacrificed her family. But in order to get to where she wanted to be in life, she made the choice of marrying a non-black man because there was such a limited pool at Harvard of black men at Harvard that not only was she trying to get the black man from Harvard, but the chick from the drive-through at McDonald's was trying to get the black man at Harvard. Wasn't nobody trying to get the black woman from Harvard.
Nobody's trying to date the black guy from Harvard. And Harvard is in Boston. There was other black men in Boston.
Trying to date the black guy from Harvard, including all the women at Harvard and the girl at McDonald's. But as a woman from Harvard Law School, nobody was trying to date her. She was just overlooked as one of those career women that, wasn't looking for a man. But that one non-black, because he's actually from Spain, that one non-black guy looked at her and took her seriously and married her.
You know what's weird about that? A black dude that went to Harvard could say the same thing, but the community is not going to respond the same way.
I mean, Barack went to Harvard. I mean, contrary to what people said,
and they were still trying to throw that he liked white women more than black women to this day.
Probably, Could you repeat the question of the statement?
I said, and they're still trying to throw in that he likes white women more than black women to this day.
Well, he married Michelle.
Hold on now, Nachel. Because you and your friends, y'all be making fun of Michelle Obama now. Y'all be calling her man and all kind of shit. And that's one of the most educated women in the White House that ever came in there. Y'all be doing that now. Come on now, be real now. Y'all be making fun of Michelle Obama.
We also talking about Jill. We can't stand Jill. Oh Lord, we cannot stand.
But why do y'all? But the thing about attacking Michelle Obama, that is one of the most highly successful women ever to ever grace the White House. I mean,
no, she wasn't. After she left Harvard, no. She left Harvard. She went to work for the law firm where Barack Obama was a law clerk, and then she was disbarred. She went and worked as an assistant to the mayor, and then after her second baby was born, she went and got a job at a hospital. And it wasn't until Barack Obama became when he became a senator that she became vice president of what was it? Vice president of fundraising, and then she went to making $300,000. And that
okay, but where's that of where she was not successful? Where's that where she's not successful? Because again, she went to school, she had her ups and downs like normal people do, and then she got a job. It wasn't like she was out there smoking crack pipes and sucking dick and shit like that, or showing her coochie.
Compare her to Hillary. Hillary was an actual Barracuda litigator.
Hillary
like three.
Hillary
Wait
is
a minute.
related to Klan people.
Okay, hold up. Time out. So
Boy,
you want
I
to compare
swear,
her to
boy.
Betty Ford? Let's compare her to Betty Ford. You want to compare her to Ivanka Trump? You want to compare her to Bush's wife, senior and junior? Like,
Come on now, Uncle. Let's get it. We know Michelle fought her way up there. Come on now. I'm not gonna take that from Michelle. I can't take that from her. I ain't got no smoke from Michelle because I
No, I'm
can't.
saying that Michelle, I'm just saying the fact she did get disbarred. So compared to her and Hillary, going back to back, Hillary did get as far as women.
I get
Who
that.
gets? I got some.
One off five female first ladies. 5 first ladies more impressive than Michelle Obama, and I guarantee you can't. I guarantee you can't.
I said Hillary, but you have to also
Hillary ain't no
understand.
damn impressive. That damn crooked bitch. No,
Hillary's an
we not
attorney.
doing that.
She's an attorney though, so
Okay,
there's
so
that.
give me 4 more. Give me 4
That
more. It's
Klan,
been
that woman wears
40
straight to the
something hours.
Klansman.
But LAR, to be fair, to circle back around to the actual original conversation, women really weren't going to law school like that. Like really, Hillary, like prior to that, women weren't working. Like Jackie O and Ronald Reagan's what Nancy the throat goat. I mean, they wasn't working like real jobs and careers back then like that. You know what I mean? Like they are now in the last. So I think now in these upcoming years, be it either side of the aisle, I think you're going to see presidents that have wives that are more educated in different fields, be it law or some other field. Like Dr. Biden,
No,
she's
you're
a
not.
professor, so you're gonna see more educated first. Like we just said, like Dr. Biden. And Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton. So that's what I'm saying. The more future that we get, what I'm saying is, as more time goes on, you're going to see more educated women. That's all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. What was the one before Biden?
I ain't talking about her. I
Why
said
not?
Obama I said Michelle and
Okay.
Dr. Jill and Hillary Clinton.
Come on now.
Is what I said, bro. I said what I said.
I said anything about Ivanka other than she could dress and she spoke 5 different languages. Okay.
Ivanka wasn't the first lady.
Not Ivanka. What's Melania? Melania can speak 5 different languages.
She can barely speak English. Melania can barely speak English. Let's not pretend they knew what that girl was saying during story time. Let's not do that. She barely
And I mean,
can
a lot of
Europeans,
Europeans from that Eastern Bloc, a lot of them do speak multiple languages because a lot of them do speak multiple languages in Europe. A lot of them speak French
that's not a
and
flex.
English, and no.
That's not really a flex. They all there.
When it comes to presidents in America, when it comes to first ladies, ironically, you're only going to name maybe 5 or 6 notable ones. You get what I'm saying? In general, you're going to start with Eleanor Roosevelt and work your way up. And you might throw Marilyn Monroe in there.
Wait, Jackie O. How do we get to Marilyn Monroe?
Because of Jackie O.
Shout out to Marilyn Monroe. You got your way to the top, girl, by any means possible. You made your way up there.
I mean, come on,
respect.
So you basically saying that Marilyn Monroe was the throat goat before Nancy Reagan was the throat goat.
Yep.
Wasn't she sleeping with both brothers?
Yep. And they didn't mind. They didn't mind sharing. They didn't mind sharing her ass. Literally.
I mean, she was attractive for a blonde.
And if y'all remember the story correctly, she had a famous baseball player who really did care about it and she didn't really like that. And who's more famous right now, Jackie O or Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, he was a little.
I feel like they're both equally famous, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think hear me out. Because a lot of the politicians' wives will try to emulate Jackie O. We have Meatball that's running right now from Florida. His wife is literally trying to emulate Jackie O every single day.
Okay, his wife is trying to emulate. You know what? Let me.
But I think a lot of politicians' wives are trying to emulate. So I think like maybe she was I'm not saying for
Politicians.
me. I'm speaking in general. I think that she's more of an icon in that aspect, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying. The only problem I have with it is I can get on Amazon right now and get a T-shirt, a painting, a whole wall fixture of Marilyn Monroe. I can't get shit of Jackie O.
True. But she was really just a side chick, though. I mean, let's just call it what it was. She was a
And as
side
a
chick.
side chick, she will stay. As a side chick, she will stay.
She was a side chick. I mean, it is what it is. Like, she was a side chick.
Think about it. A side chick has. Do you realize this side chick probably okay? She's past Betty Ford as a side chick.
Now, wait, I don't know
You
about
don't
Betty
even
Ford. You're
remember
going
Rich
way
Nixon
back.
having
I
that,
don't know
do you?
about Betty Ford being a side chick, but okay.
What do you think the Betty Ford Clinic is about?
She was a
Uh-oh.
No,
druggie?
no, no. I'm saying as a side
I thought she was a
chick,
druggie.
as a side, exactly. As a side chick who did drugs, she surpassed Betty Ford, who was a drug addict.
Okay. I mean, I didn't know that. So I can't speak on the Ford. I'm not that well versed on Gerald Ford like that. So
You don't even know what George Bush's wife looked like. Either one of them.
what happened? Say that again.
I said you don't even know what either one of George Bush,
From
Bush
affirmative action.
Senior or Junior. What do their wife look like, or what does Marilyn Monroe look like?
You're right. I mean, yeah.
If we need to know what their wives look like, all we need to know there's a white woman that came out of a cake that was half naked. That to me,
In the
I
60s,
think
like we talking about in the 60s too. Like, nowadays that might have not necessarily been a big deal, but like in the 60s.
I think goddamn Monica. I'm gonna tell my kids Monica Lewinsky was goddamn a presidential wife. I still think she was still part of the family. I still think she's part of the damn family. You ask me, kid. I mean, honestly, all these presidents got their own goddamn little. Like Clinton, like fucking black women. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, his get back to. You know what? I'm gonna make sure y'all kids don't get left behind, and that they can also go to school and shit. That's why Hillary didn't like those Negro women coming around her goddamn man. But he knew damn well he was like, listen, I can't fund you. No, that's why he was like, I can't pay for my child.
I can tell you one thing Marilyn Monroe never did was get caught with cocaine in the White House like somebody else's son.
I mean, wasn't that before Coke was really popular though? Let's just
No.
Hey.
No. She was on.
I mean, Coke ain't really become popular until like after Vietnam, like I don't know, at the 80s.
No. Coke
There was heroin.
Heroin was a major.
You mean to
drug.
tell me you think
Coke
that this
was
is the
around.
first incident of being Coke in the White House? Come on now. I know you're not that.
I know they got that motherfucker in it.
No, I remember the crack infomercial with George Bush. I was living in
good and damn well that there's been Coke. This ain't the first, second, or 20th or 30th time there was Coke in the White House. Come on now.
I'm glad you said that because the projects was behind the White House for decades.
Oh no, I've been to DC. I have family in DC. I've been, even now. It's so funny, and I remember this. This is a few years back. I was going out one night, and I was coming home, and I was in the hood. Don't ask me no questions. I was in the hood, okay? And I was in the hood, and I was driving back to where I was driving back to, and you look in you're like in one of the poorest neighborhoods in America, probably, and you look in the rearview mirror and see the Capitol. The fucking irony of that moment.
Yeah,
I
learned that lesson in second grade.
I was just like, what? No, but it's crazy. Like, it's one thing when you see it, and you see it for yourself as an adult. Like, yeah, you see it as a kid. When you see that shit as an adult, though, because your mind, you know what I mean? Like, you just like, what the fuck?
I wonder how they never get that. Whenever they do these movies, how they never get the hood in the caption picture of the White House. Though it's literally in the backyard of it.
Right.
They never.
Come on now.
That is bad.
But you know what? A lot of the top universities and schools are also in the hood. Harvard is in the hood. Yale is in the hood. Yale is definitely in the hood. Yale is in the hood. You hear me? Yale is in the hood. Temple is in. As a matter of fact, my cousin went to Temple in Philly. This was in the 90s. They sent out messaging to their students saying only travel in groups and don't travel out at night. Most of the universities in Boston are in the hood. Like just BC, BU, University, Northeastern, all of them shits is like across the street from the projects. So all of these,
do you have the do you have StreamYard on and the and
No.
YouTube?
Literally picking up everything that you guys say. So when y'all talk, I'm on my cell. When y'all talk, it's literally picking y'all up. So that's why
You have to close out YouTube in the back end now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably got YouTube
It's
going
in your
while
phone.
you're also You can't do both. You got like we turn off our YouTube. We're just on stream.
YouTube. I don't have anything on my phone. The only thing that's open on my phone is StreamYard.
Question: are you also on Bluetooth? Do you have a Bluetooth?
You know, I'm so old. I don't even know what the hell Bluetooth is. No,
I-
I have y'all on.
How do you go to Duke then? How did you go to Duke?
Because when I went to do, we were still writing our notes on. Okay,
Don't do
I
that.
might be 24, 36. I got the body of a 25-year-old. I'm sorry, I don't have the skills of a 25-year-old when it comes to technology, StreamYard, and all that. That's why I don't have my own channel.
I swear, y'all, if I could rent out the show, I would. I could get her to get the people channels, but I'm not giving up my co-hosts. I can't give them up.
I gotta.
Damn,
My
Bluetooth
bad.
came
I
out
got
in
a question about
1994.
this.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got a question just about this whole thing about affirmative action and the college part of it because it was funny to me. Do you think these people who want to go to college and be admitted, since most Americans can't afford to go,
Mm-hmm.
is it actually going to work out in their favor in the long run?
Well, I said that probably before you got here. I had mentioned that.
Okay.
I said it's probably going to backfire because I think they were maybe misled, meaning that they think that all these Black people are getting into colleges instead of them, when in reality it's really legacy students that are getting it.
Yeah,
So I think it's going to backfire, and it's not going to be as much of it's not as big of a deal as they're trying to make it seem to be, is basically what I'm saying. And a lot of colleges and a lot of workplaces also have DEI initiatives in place anyway, which the SCOTUS can't tell them what to do. You know what I mean? If a private company or a private university wants to have a diversity things, they can. Funny enough, so speaking of diversity, I think somebody was talking about fraternities and sororities. One of the Divine Nine is having their conclave here this weekend, and they actually have a job fair for their people for the new graduates and everything that are coming, and there are major corporations that are at this job fair. So, they do still recruit. They still do recruit educated Black men.
They've been doing that. They still that never stopped. I think people just don't really want to say it still exists, but that never stopped.
James, I'm not sure if you're. I don't believe you're American. I'm not sure, but that's not really a thing.
Who?
He put, no other country in the world celebrates spring break like America. Who wouldn't want to go to college?
No, actually, no, because you got some colleges.
But it's not as much of a thing as he's trying to say it is.
But see, the thing about it is, I forgot what country, but they allow it. Like when they graduate, they allow the kids to party for a whole fucking season.
I went to a state school and I lived on campus, and trust me, it was not. There was parties, sure, but it wasn't like how it's portrayed.
I think it's because of Hollywood portrayed that shit.
That's what I'm saying,
and other stuff like that. But holistically,
during my spring breaks, I worked 2 jobs. So that's what I did during my spring breaks back in the 1900s.
I'm gonna say HBCUs, right?
You got work, Michelle. Michelle, you got work.
We did Myrtle Beach. That was a big deal for spring break. Be down in Myrtle Beach, and it was a big deal for us to go down from Georgetown all the way down. I mean, what is the school I'm trying to think of? Up in DC, Howard. The people from Howard would come down. We'd all go down to Myrtle Beach. We'd have a huge party down there. The difference between the Black kids and the white kids would be the white kids would be out in boats, and we'd be on the beach up under the umbrellas.
But I mean, I don't have a problem with festivities because that's a big way of how like everybody knows like going to like the Myrtle Beach or beach areas, that tourism is a big money maker. So I can understand that, like Daytona, like when I lived in Florida, like Daytona, everybody knows, okay, like that's one of the main reasons why
Oh yeah,
Florida,
we stay away from the beaches. We stay away from the
yeah,
beach certain times. Like the month of
like
March, we pretty much stay away from the beach. But the
like
thing
yeah,
is, it's not like necessarily college students like how it's portrayed. You know what I mean? Like it there is, but then there isn't. Like it's not necessarily college students traveling like that. At least here, during spring break. Maybe Miami, but I don't live in Miami.
well,
So it's not college students. It's like usually because kids are also off during that time, high schools and elementary schools and stuff. So there's families here too, so it's not just like college students. Like I think that whole MTV thing with the spring breaks and stuff like that, that's, not so much anymore. And then Miami is trying to stop that shit altogether because you know what? Because niggas be nigging. So Miami is trying to stop that shit altogether.
like I push this out to a lot of people that a lot of the stuff that we see, and this is a reality that I wanted to bring up, that a lot of things, because of the economic drop, a lot of people are leaving and dropping out of schools because they're like, yo, I can't afford this, I got to go home because my mom and dad are not working. You gotta understand, the livable wages and stuff are not what it used to be. A lot of kids, this is why affirmative action is, and why I don't have a problem with it, because a lot of people had to say, I can't stay in school because I either have
But
a
that's not
child.
affirmative action as much as it should be like maybe affordable college tuition
Well,
or
well,
affordable programs or affordable
I,
loans or affordable grants or
I get you.
scholarships.
No, but I get you what that says. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's creating an opportunity for those people. And this is the thing that a lot of people like to say, like, America this, America that. But I don't think people understand the poverty wage gap there is going on in the country right now. Like, literally, like, y'all you go to the grocery stores or go look at the jobs and stuff. Like, they barely want to budge on that on insurance or pretty much paying people and shit like that. Like, motherfuckers are cheap as fuck. Like, they really are.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
I applied for a job today. They sent me a
Part
thing and it was like the starting wage was like $14.50 and you had to have like 5 years of experience.
I
I'm
was
like,
like, yeah, you
what?
can kiss my ass. Yeah, you can kiss my ass on that
People,
one.
why
I,
don't people want to
honestly,
work? Yeah, okay.
I can honestly say in college, from like maybe from the 60s to the early 2000s, from the 60s to the early 2000s, you could actually work your way through school and pay. That stopped. For all these people in the past
yep.
who benefited from even affirmative action back then, they know good and hell well, yeah, the cost of living was different, but the cost of school was
Sir, I
far,
went to college in
far,
the
far less than it was.
1900s. I couldn't work my way through college. College was still too expensive.
Did you go in state out? I mean, in state, out of
I
state?
went in state.
What state?
Damn.
She had
Connecticut.
a job. She had a job that
I
she
worked two.
Connecticut.
Yes.
she's a CNA.
I
She's
am
a
not no
CNA.
damn.
She's CNA.
I'm not a shit. I should have
You
been a damn nurse. But anyway,
Ah,
go ahead.
you can
What
still
was you
do
about?
that.
No, go ahead. What was you about to
Where
ask
you
me?
went,
Yeah,
you
no,
might
you're
not
right.
have
I
been able
can't.
to do it.
But what was you about to ask me? You was about to
Where
ask me
you
something
went,
else,
you
though.
might not have been able to do it. No, I'm saying when you said
I'm gonna tell you
Connecticut,
this.
there ain't
Let me
that
tell you
many
something.
universities there.
Let me tell you something. I lived with both of my parents. Both my parents worked two
what?
jobs. I worked two jobs. We lived in a house. We lived actually in the suburbs, a black suburb. Imagine that. I'm just putting it
What?
out there for the world. We lived in a black suburb in a house. They had two cars. But I did not grow up in the hood. You know, Joe, I've been saying that on here for years. I am not from the hood. I did not grow up in the hood. I'm hood adjacent. I know I've lived in the hood as an adult, but I ain't from the hood. But anyway,
You're like
my parents.
you're like the Huxtable kid.
Not quite, but
No,
my parents did work two jobs. My mother saved her money. I worked in college. It was a struggle, you know what I'm saying? And I was grateful to have family members that was able to help me. Like I have the literal quote unquote rich auntie. You know, you hear about the rich black auntie. I have one of those. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I
Where
was.
you were, I get it. Where you were, I get it. But the vast majority of the United States, you could have done it at that time.
And
There's
this
certain
was, let's
pockets,
see, I graduated high school in 1996. So,
and I
yeah,
graduated in
1997. Yeah.
So let's just be honest. The United States, you can divide it. We have the Huxtable family. That's 1/3. Then we have the Family Matters family. Then we have the Good Times family. That's it. That's what they don't want to admit. And a lot of the kids that are in the Family Matters group, they do go to college. A lot of people in the Huxtable group, they don't want to go to college. They want to try something else other than working, 16 hours a day.
I feel like we was probably more the Family Matters family. That's what, more so than the Huxtables.
But we had gotten to the point in the United States where I remember my daughters were playing basketball, and they were pretty good at playing basketball, but they were at a charter school. So, in order to really get looked at for basketball scholarships, my daughter wanted to go to a public high school. So I enrolled her to the public high school, and my own soror said, well, I have to give the spots to the kids that won't be able to go to college. Your daughter is being raised like a Huxtable. Her dad's a doctor, her mom's a lawyer. So I'm going to, put her spot, she's a freshman. She can she can rise up. Well, when all of her team flunked out and she wanted my daughter to come play basketball, my daughter's skills weren't like they would have been if she had been continually playing. So that's what we do to ourselves, our own selves. And we sat up there and said, this girl is smart and she's gifted on the basketball court, but I'm going to give some dumb child an opportunity. My youngest, she scored a 1480 on the SAT. Now, that's a hell of a lot. That's like scoring more than 95% of the people that took the damn test. Yeah, there's some people that scored 1,600. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, y'all in the top 1%. She was in the top 5%. But when she was going through college admissions, they wanted more diverse. They knew she was going to go to college, but they need to help another Black person that wasn't so college bound as she was. That has hurt us. Now, don't get me wrong. My daughter's sitting up on the dean's list at a school up in Minnesota, but still, we can't get to the point where we're allowing white people to say, okay, you got the first in line. Now we're going to pick like the fifth one. No, the one in the way back that probably could not make it. Because I've heard recruiters say that when it came to women and when it came to minorities, they hired the dumbest ones they could find just to teach everybody a lesson. So when affirmative action got to that point where people were like, I'm scared of going to see a Black doctor. And what was that girl's name? Tina Pearson that was on there with Candace Owens.
I'm scared to go see a Black doctor.
Oh, the Black chick that was on there with Candace Owens that night that Candace Owens got.
Are we really going that deep to hell?
We got people like that. We got people like that. That will co-sign. They will co-sign on the fact.
Why do you, Michelle? You've been around those goddamn salty white folks too damn long. Oh my God! This is what I talked to Michelle about on the phone, y'all. This is what I talked to Michelle about on the phone.
No, I said I'm salty at the Black folks that sit up there and assume that a white man, that's a white doctor. He must be the smart one. No, that is a part of, and you get that from people who don't even know how to spell Ben Carson. That will come in there and assume that the white guy has to know more than the Black guy.
I think y'all think that we're stupid.
In my life experience, I hate to say it this way, but it's usually Black people who benefited from affirmative action that think like that.
Yeah,
it's not usually people who didn't. That's just like when you said Candace Owens. You don't take advice from anybody who has a kid and says they're not going to get their kid vaccinated, as if that they can push that kid into school without vaccination. Like,
I mean, you have to know the system. The sister is sitting up there saying, I can do a religious exemption and get
Or
my
they're
kid
just full of shit and they're just telling you that.
My
That doesn't
children.
work. That does not work. That doesn't
A
work.
lot of them are full of shit and they're just selling it to an audience. A lot of trust and believe they was probably standing in line with the vaccines with the rest of us.
because when
I
that
got
kid's 5, all of his vaccinations gonna be checked. Kid 2 now.
When I went off to law school, this is what I found out.
There's people in the comments saying that they wouldn't want to see a black doctor. I don't know who was mentioned talking about the black doctor. So.
Her name is Trina Pearson, not Katrina, but Tina Pearson. Tina Pearson was on that show in that yellow ass outfit with Candace Owens, and we told up Facebook because the bitch gonna sit there going, I need a white lawyer to tell me what the truth is. And this motherfucker had barely graduated from community college in New York. You know how New York has like those night law schools? He had to come on and say, well, I think Nachel is right. And I'm like, this is what hurts us is when we have black people co-signing on the fact that we need affirmative action. We don't need affirmative action. We just need white folks to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Just move.
How you doing that? How you going to white folks out of the way? How you doing? Exactly.
Remove the barriers. Stop saying.
It's called affirmative action. That was helping remove the barriers.
That was not what affirmative action was about. Affirmative action said,
my God.
Equally.
The shell. One of your main talking points is I went to Duke. So you're happy to brag off about a white school.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what? That when I was in school, there was a rumor going around that if your the middle numbers of your social security number were even, that meant you were a minority. And that we had professors that would sit up there, and a black professor at that, who would give people with an even number on their social security a higher grade than those with an odd number, because statistically speaking, most black have an even number, according to his logic. But what we found out, that when we went on my record at Duke University, they looked up and down twice. I was listed as white. I never checked the box for black.
Michelle, again, hear what I'm saying. One of the benchmarks. Listen, black folks like to brag off. I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. I went to a white school. It's like something about saying I did something with white folks.
Please mute your phone, Michelle. That shit is like
something about black folks bragging that they did something with white folks. It's like,
yeah, that shit don't sit right with me, Joe.
It sounds
right with me.
It just sounds off, like really bad. Like, like I don't get, what does that benchmark mean? Like, it's like it does like you're never gonna, like, I don't know how that's working out, because mind you, again, when the affirmative action thing is finally fun and done and gone, you know what I'm saying? But I've read a lot of these stories and things about the man who made plasma. Ironically, he died because he needed a plasma treatment but nobody respected his tutelage as a black man, and he died from the treatment that he made. It would have saved his life. Like, there's a
people
reason
that don't
why
get plasma for religious reasons, though, which is crazy. But that's
Okay, Bob Marley, man.
Jehovah's Witnesses don't.
Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, this is the thing about it. Like, some of these things, I feel like they're like, I get some people say, hey, we don't. If you say you don't need it, fine. But to other people who do need it, I'm not going to say, hey, yeah, we don't need it. No, just say you don't need it. Because when y'all get to brag about y'all friends that y'all have in high places or access to certain kind of lifestyle, everybody don't got that. Everybody doesn't have that kind of thing. Like, you understand, and I mean that's just being realistic. I get it. Like, I could pull out my papers right now from the VA that my kids can go to school, but everybody's parent doesn't have that type of, you get what I'm saying? Like paperwork where their kid can go to school. Now, if my kids don't go to school, hey, that's on them. But
Would you
I
want?
did
Would
my
you want your kids to go to them since you were in the military and you
fuck
obviously have
no,
first
fuck no,
hand experience? Would you
fuck,
want your kids to
fuck
go to the
no,
military?
fuck
Not
no.
even
I
like the Coast
listen.
Guard. Not
No,
even like the Coast
you know
Guard or
what?
like the
Here's the thing
safer
about it.
ones.
You know what? I wouldn't mind if they did like the National Guard and at
What about
least
like the
get
Coast
some.
Guard or like the
Yeah,
Air
yeah, but
Force?
the Coast Guard is in Connecticut. The Coast Guard base is in Connecticut. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind them getting in their VA privileges and stuff because and getting their VA, the VA home loan agreements and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. Like I get it. Get your benefits and get the fuck on out. Go to school, get a nice little trade. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, there's power in that DDR 214. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing for my children that I paid it forward. I don't mind helping out other young men and women when they were like, "Hey, what can I do?" And I'll say, "Hey, man, let me go talk to these people." I use my networking. But if there were easier ways, yes. But however, I'm not going to shun at all these people that came before me, men and women, that fought for it and say, "Well, we had our time with it. We don't need it no more." No, fuck that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
No. Other
And I think
people,
the attitude of a lot of people, especially boomers, is that like, oh, well, I got it. You on your own now. Fuck you. You
This
know what I'm
this
saying?
is
That's the
this is
attitude of
the
a lot of boomers.
That's not what people are
to
saying.
me, this is the beauty of hold on
X-Clan
1 second. This is the
thing is we got it. Our kids are going to go to school, and guess what? We are going to work to put scholarships in place for those who can get in based on their merit. We know that there are smart, poor kids, whether they're black, white, purple, or green. There are
I ain't worried about
smart.
them. I'm not worried about them other damn kids. I'm
okay.
worried about my
Now
kids.
now
I'm worried about my children.
okay, now I'm finna just rock out for a second on this.
Go
First
ahead.
of
Go ahead.
all, there is no such thing as merit in America. It's never been merit in America. Never.
Uh-oh.
It's bullshit. You know how I know it's bullshit? Because nobody says anything about teachers failing people because they don't like their race. That ain't merit. That's what teachers do. That affects people's GPA. Does anybody give a shit? No. Ain't no merit in America. Only merit you got in America is if you running a football and shooting jump shots or hitting a baseball. Other than that, ain't no goddamn merit. The other thing about this is really honest. Let's be honest. Okay, people don't want affirmative action. No problem. And kind of what y'all was talking about, if when people say that white people are smart, this is why people don't need affirmative action. Let the world see how many stupid motherfuckers are in good positions. It's always everybody else ain't qualified enough. I love seeing when people say somebody is smart, they run into multiple idiots of that group and just got to eat it and act like, oh, well, one of them's smart. One of them's a genius. You don't want a black doctor? No problem. When you run into 10 white doctors and none of them are good enough for you, you never say, maybe these white doctors ain't that good. You just say, I'm going to find the good one day. Stupid shit. So sometimes let's just let people go down a rabbit hole of being a jackass and let them live with it. This affirmative action shit don't affect really nothing except for people who want to go to school and think it's going to change their life by going to fucking Harvard or UNC. What, 30-40% of people who get into Ivy League schools are legacy? Guess what? Your ass ain't going to get into an Ivy League school like that. Sorry. Take your ass to a regular school. It wouldn't be such a problem. But people won't be stupid enough to fight for that. Cool. Let them go. Just because you want to go to a school and get hired by a certain place, they don't have to fucking hire you. Deal with it. As a person that's a black man, guess what? I've dealt with it. It's now it's a problem for everybody else. Even our ladies say they're double minorities. You're not going to be a double minority no more. Deal with it. The people who are Asian, I won't get it. Now I'm going to get into school. No, the fuck you won't, because white people don't want you in there like that. Deal with it. This is America. This bitch been unfair since the beginning. I don't know why y'all looking for fairness. It ain't never been fair. You can watch your favorite team play sports every fucking week. And guess what? When they're at home, they cheat for them. When they're away, they cheat for the other team. America cheats. And for all you smart people who go to school, even the Asians, we never talk about how many of you smart motherfuckers cheat all the time. That's how y'all got there. Because it's a whole lot of highly educated, stupid motherfuckers, and you're trying to figure out how, because they cheat. They never learn shit. I quit.
Now, what I was going to say is, I think it's very ironic that Asians in America are complaining about the fact that they can't get into colleges and universities when the way the American immigration policy has had a habit of recruiting Asians. And when we think of Asians, we may just think of people from China, but Asians are also people from India. Who are the two most populous countries in the world? China and India. I think India now has more people than China. So the fact that there are all these immigrants from China, first and second generation, even the country of China is sending some of their best and brightest kids over to the United States to learn. That is why there's an overwhelming number of Asians in schools. It's not because Asians are just so smart. It is because only the best and brightest are leaving China or being recruited out of China. If you look and see the Vietnamese and the Koreans, they are not knocking the door down at Harvard. True, some are getting in, but it's not these overwhelming numbers that you see in these lawsuits. They've grouped all the Asians, including the Indians, in with this whole we are unfairly not being represented. So that's what we also have to bear in mind as Black people in the United States is most of the world's population are Asiatic. And that's macroeconomic saying.
Here's the rub in America. Even if you are Asian and you work in tech and STEM, you're still not going to get a CEO position, not from your merit. They're still not going to get a CEO, vice president, president position because of their merit. Now, you can see by the numbers. There are companies that Asians are a big part of the population in these STEM companies. And guess what? There's still a minority when it comes to the hierarchy of the bosses. That's America. That ain't got shit to do with merit. That's every company. Every company got a good old boy system, no matter how good you are. That's what they do. It's not going to change. I don't know why, in some ways, we're looking for white America to have this Christian change of heart. I don't know why people are so stupid to believe that's going to happen. It's never going to fucking happen.
But I'm not.
I wasn't talking about you.
I think the thing about it, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But I'm about to do the final thing. And like I said, and Uncle, I hope you take a crack at this in your own dialogue sometime about this because, again, will it change for our diaspora? I don't really think so because you do have it where this new, as much as we like to shit on a lot of these younger adult people, they're not dumb like people. I think the media portrays the lower hanging fruit, but there are a lot of these younger kids. They are doing numbers and getting into these schools. Like I think a boy just broke a record, getting the most scholarships. He just got the most scholarship. Like he qualified for so many scholarships to go to these schools. You know what I'm saying? Like, will it hurt our kids like that? The ones who are really, really, really out there like busting heads? No. I think they're gonna flourish. I think they're gonna find a way to thrive. You know what I'm saying? But for some others, I think they're gonna feel it. They're gonna feel it. I think when they try to use daddies, they're gonna try to use daddies influence, and I agree. Time to let the stupid people start being put into the light, put them under the pressure, and then see if they're gonna be able to deal. Black people, we have this interesting, I would say, algorithm of survivability. I don't take it harsh. It's like a cockroach. You could nuke them, fry them, try to drown them. Somehow a cockroach just adapt. I don't know how we've been adapting so, uh, you know,
Well,
admirably.
because we didn't have a choice to. I mean, that was the only way we was
Fair
gonna get
enough.
ahead.
I'm
So I
gonna.
think I go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell
No,
you how
no,
this
go ahead.
story ends, in my opinion. Just in my opinion. All this affirmative action stuff with the school, all of these non-black people are gonna have a hard time getting to these predominantly white institutions, and then they're gonna flood HBCUs because
Yeah,
contrary
yeah,
to popular
yeah. But
belief, what's gonna wind up
Yep.
happening because people don't realize most HBCUs use the same books as the college that's near it. So if you go to any HBCU, you can guarantee all the books from the other school, that's the quote unquote white school or the Ivy League or the off Ivy League school, they got all the same books. If you're doing a particular curriculum.
A lot
And
of
most of those
HBCUs are state
have
schools
sister
anyway,
programs.
so
Yeah,
white students go there anyway. Like FAMU,
right.
there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of white folks that go to FAMU
Yeah. That's
because it's a
all that's
state.
gonna
It's a
happen.
state school.
And to be perfectly honest, if them kids should give them hell. Like, no, what the fuck you doing here? You shouldn't be around us blacks. We're not smart enough to get into the schools you wanted to go to. Don't bring your ass here. That's how it really should, though.
It's also about numbers. It comes down to numbers. And like Paul Quinn in Dallas is a historically black university, is associated with the AMA Church. It has reached out to do a program with China, where the
Why?
students, because China got so many data with the global interest.
All that money in Duke and can't get a damn.
So also back about the Bass family. The Basses are billionaires that cornered the silver market back in the day. But when you start seeing our universities realizing that, hold up, we can have jobs waiting for our students when they get out of school. That's the whole thing. So we got to network with different governments. We got to network with different companies. We have to have a feeder system. We have to have internships and study abroad programs and things like that so the kids can expand their horizon. And I see that happening at black colleges and universities, particularly Paul Quinn and Howard. They are recognizing we have a macroeconomic country. I mean, economy, a macroeconomic world now. It's not like you have to stay in the United States. You can go and work in South Africa. They're recruiting black people to come work in South Africa. They're recruiting black people to come work in Ghana. They're recruiting black people to work in Nigeria. We are now a world commodity. So what if these white people don't want to hire you and give you a job? We could go work in Haiti. We could go work in Costa Rica. There are countless
Listen, I'm not taking pay cuts. Fuck that. I'm not going down there. Listen, stay my ass right here in America.
I'm not necessarily talking about pay cut. If you go down to Costa Rica and buy a house by putting
No.
$1,000
See, why do y'all always want to do that? Y'all be wanting to go to some of the most interesting places where hurricane be watching your house out there with pigeons and shit, and we fight and worry some group gonna chop your ass up at night. No, nigga, no. I'm taking my chances with the white man and goddamn Bill Gates. I'm gonna have to just take my chances with them two crazy motherfuckers. Right now, you got it with Elon and Zuckerberg. They just want to have Mortal Kombat right now. We can deal with that. I can deal with this. I know niggas and I know Karen. I can deal with Walmart. I don't know what y'all want to do out there outside of the US. Now y'all bugging. Y'all can go on with that shit. That we can go out there, live in Costa Rica and all that shit. Then no. I'm not going there. I'm not going. I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving. No.
You know
We're not
what? I
going
think I've
nowhere.
been hanging around you for too long because on one hand, I kind of wouldn't mind doing that, but then on the other hand, I'm like, United States sucks for a lot of reasons, but the United States is also pretty damn good for a lot of reasons too. And I'm just like,
There has to be a reason why so many of them motherfuckers are
right.
coming up here. These motherfuckers are coming in here like goddamn the Prince of Egypt through through goddamn the Red Sea. Now you can't tell me all of them trying to get in here, and we saying we're gonna leak. No, Nick,
And I think too, because
listen,
we're used to certain things, like your internet doesn't go out on a regular basis, your electricity doesn't go out on a regular basis. And a lot of times when you go to them places, they electricity and internet ain't up to par like it is here,
y'all
so to
kids
speak.
goodbye to 5G. Kids goodbye to 5 and 4G. That shit.
Right,
That's
you're gonna be mad as hell walking down the street. Why can't I make a phone call? Oh, the phone only
I ain't got
worked
time for that,
between
man.
12 a.m. to 12 p.m. or some shit.
I don't
I
got
actually
time for
gotta
that. I was
make a
watching.
I actually gotta make a
My
video about
friend,
something that my bad. I'm gonna be short. I think one of the biggest issues, honestly, is other countries aren't as accommodating to America as America is to them. So you really don't necessarily want to go there because they're not
Uh-oh.
as accommodating as vice versa.
mhm.
Facts. No. See that's the thing. That's the thing about it, man.
A lot of jobs, James, just to let you know, a lot of jobs you can't you can't necessarily get jobs here and work on a VPN in another country. Like
Like,
there's literally explicit directions you can't work outside of this country, even if it's for, like, I in my previous job, someone was on vacation and he wanted to bring his laptop with him. He had to get, and he's like the freaking VP, he had to get permission from like the head of IT to take his laptop to the Dominican
there's a
and
lot
get
of
like a
hackers out
special.
there.
So that's what I'm saying. So even though, yeah, you can get a job at a State Department or wherever, but you can't necessarily live outside the country or even visit for a short period of time outside the country and get on a VPN. Most companies won't allow it.
I'm gonna tell y'all some real
Hold
shit.
on for 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. Philly Eagles fans said HBCUs don't have the infrastructure to take all these new students. If you from Philly, you
Yeah,
know what the hell you talking about. Most of the
that's great, but
HBCUs are in the South. Like, y'all don't really, when y'all think of HBCU, y'all think of the shit that went on with Jackson State, right? Y'all forget there's other colleges that are really up to date.
Like I said,
really nice, really nice.
FAMU is a state school, so they get all the same shit that all the other state schools get. FAMU is a state school. Tennessee State is a HBCU. That's a state school.
They're
A
not.
lot
Yeah,
of HBCUs are also public universities, so
See,
that means they get public funding.
hold up.
listen,
I'm gonna just do
they're
this
not,
and
and they're not bad. They're really nice schools.
I gotta do it. A lot of
FAMU
y'all,
has a brand new
a lot,
pharmacy school in downtown Tampa. Brand new, spanking new building
a
in
lot of
downtown
y'all,
Tampa
I
for
hate
the
it,
School
but
of Pharmacy.
a lot of y'all black folks, y'all stereotype black folks that y'all don't know on the bullshit that y'all want black folks to be. Y'all don't know what the fuck y'all talking about half the time. Because if you actually been around, you would know. Okay, just like every other school, I will go here and not there. That's all that is. This black shit don't work across the board is bullshit. That's like so here's the issue. If you're in Philly, you know for a fact it's colleges in Philly. Some of them are good, some of them are shitty. It's common sense. You try to go to the one that's pretty good. And those are white schools. To me, this is the crux of the issue when it comes to our people. We really, I was born in 79. I'm gonna just say it this way. A lot of y'all are out of touch with black people. Y'all just in touch with the area you grew up in. That's it. There was a time where we could connect. Like, I knew people from the West Coast, the North, the South, the East, and I visited those places. A lot of y'all just watch TV and be bullshitting, and y'all never interact with people from other places, so y'all know what the fuck y'all talking about. Y'all don't know the difference between black people in Chicago and the black people in St. Louis, because you don't know. The closest y'all get to black people is just like white people, through music. That's the closest experience you get. Some of y'all need to get off your ass and go somewhere other than a bullshit vacation to eat.
Stop coming to Miami.
Like y'all got. I want y'all to understand. Like my niece, she went to Florida. She could have gone to Massachusetts, Boston Tech, but she went down to Florida. But they had a pretty good medical program at an HBCU that literally that they would pay the kids to go there, learn, and they also get a program where they're learning pharmaceutical medicine.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is it
Like,
FAMU? Is it the pharmacy? Is it
yeah,
School of Pharmacy?
I
Yeah,
believe,
that's what I was saying. They literally
yeah, like they pay you to
they
go.
have a brand new high-rise building in downtown Tampa. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. She saw me.
Yep.
She was taking pictures. She was taking pictures there. She was right. I'm supposed to go down there, and she's gonna walk me around, and she wants me to do interviews with her friends and stuff. Like I want to understand. Like we have a lot. Like y'all, if some of y'all don't know, BMP. I guess I do farming and everything. Like I have a lot of colleges that reach out to me, and they'll webcam their work, and I will look at it and say, okay, y'all need to do this and switch that up. Like that's technology that they're talking with farmers on how they can better make more healthy food. Y'all know we got these foods in the grocery store, but if you have actual black farmers that they're paying to go to college to do that, that's a game changer. That's a game changer. That means you're trying to actually develop your own system. Like I don't think the thing about it is, and that's why like I get the frustration of LAR when he says like, but I've been to Illinois. It's not all everybody's not running around playing Grand Theft Auto. It's like a small. Like
You know,
that's the thing
that's the
about
funny
it.
thing. Like I went to Chicago, I think right before the pandemic. So 2019, I went to Chicago. It was like any other city. Like it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't like what you see on TV or whatever. It was like any other city. I mean, granted, I probably wasn't necessarily in the hood, but I mean,
Right, I
I've
grew
been
up
to
on
the
the
hood. I've
west.
been to the hoods of Philly. Like,
I grew
Philly
up
is
on
an
the west side
interesting
of
place. I'll
Chicago.
say that.
People don't go to where it's really going down when they go to the city.
Right.
I grew up on the west side of Chicago. I lived in New Orleans. I was born in New Orleans. I know where it goes down there. I live in Texas now. And
Where in
I lived
Texas
in
do you live? I don't know anything
Houston.
about Texas, but
Houston.
okay, so you live in a city. All right.
Yeah.
What made you choose Houston over like other parts in Texas, being that you're a northerner?
I'm not a northerner. I was born in New Orleans.
Oh, you said Chicago, so I was like, okay,
Yeah, I grew.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I was a kid that moved a lot
Okay.
from New Orleans to the DMV to Chicago back to the South. So I had family that moved out here. I wasn't
Okay.
going back to New Orleans, so Houston,
I got you.
A good option. But
So is that why you have a Chicago/New Orleans accent? Kind of.
I ain't got no
Yeah,
Chicago
you
accent.
do have
You
a pretty
do. It's like a little
strong.
bit. It's like a
It
little
is
bit of a
pretty strong.
Midwest mixed with a little bit of Southern.
I like
You
I
do.
like it. It's very diverse.
You
It's very
do.
diverse. It's very diverse.
Chicago is segregated. A lot of northern cities are segregated.
No,
Like I said, I'm from Connecticut. I don't know about Chicago. But I know.
Chicago is very segregated.
Yeah. So
Chicago's probably the most
Connecticut, New
segregated city in
York,
America.
Boston is all. I've lived in those places. Those are all segregated.
Chicago
New
changes every
Jersey.
4 blocks.
Yeah.
You know what? Somebody told me, and I was telling them, I was like, listen.
It was like a culture shock when I moved to Florida, honestly, because it was like, oh, where the black people? Right, because it's like, where the black people at? The black people
Nowhere.
live amongst
South.
with the white people. Like,
South. There's like here's the thing about like when I live up and when I live up north.
Go to town.
I don't know what you're saying. When I lived in New England area, that's how you know people who are from up north, because we call it New England. We don't call it by state. We just call it New England because that's how we look at it. So you'll say, well, what New England state you're in? Like I remember I said, oh, I lived in Connecticut. Oh yeah, that's where all the heroin. I said, see, depending on where you go and what time, that's when you might see that. Versus you could go in certain parts of London or I had a phone call. You can go in certain parts of New London or Norwich, certain areas. You will never see that. I can promise you. You get your ass caught there at the wrong time. Jay and I will tell you, they get your ass the fuck up out of there real quick. Like they'll do a
Idaho and
whole.
New England are two totally different sides of the country.
Right.
You said Idaho and New England. Like, yeah, those are two totally different.
No. Like New England, Connecticut, Like
that's Connecticut,
about,
New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, Maine. That's New England, two different sides of the country.
Right.
But
like,
yeah, when I moved to Florida, it's like that's the funny thing. I'm like, wait, so black people just living with the white people, like, which is kind of interesting, being that it's the South. Yeah. yeah, it is. That is something I kind of had to get used to, just being into like going. It's like, well, we're the black clubs, or we're the black this, or the black that. Everybody kind of just be with everybody.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about right there, BMT. That comment. If you went
What
to
about
Emory, you was in Atlanta. There are other HBCUs in Atlanta that do law, aren't they? There are about 10 HBCUs that do law.
Yeah.
Just because you don't go to Howard, don't mean you can't go to another one.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of them. Like,
Common
literally,
sense.
goddamn. Like, where y'all think all these goddamn lawyers are coming from out of Atlanta? You know how much law school, you know how much law goes on down there? Like, they got a lot of law schools down there. South Carolina, College of Charleston, literally, that's a predominantly black college. They actually, if you are a black man and you go to the College of Charleston, they will pay for your tuition for free. You can go to school for free.
Willie
They
Gary
literally,
is posting up is it North Carolina A&T Law School?
well, when it's college, well, like we got like college of Charleston, like they got a lot of HBCUs have programs that if as long as you got the grade and you apply yourself, they'll put you through. And they're very nice historical accredited schools. But I don't know why. But the sad thing about it, we kind of always pull out the bad in the schools. But I'm like, well, shit. If you're gonna do that, then you might as well pull out all them goddamn frat Ponzi schemes that went into all the white schools and shit. Like, go ahead, pull out them damn things. They got damn thing all the way down to the government. Like, come on now. The worst y'all can say on us, okay, smoking weed, somebody did some crack. The dean got
So I
caught.
just got to pop up. I just got to pop up that today is Arthur Ashe's birthday. Do you think he was a? Did he benefit from affirmative action?
Who?
Hell no.
Arthur Ashe. I got to pop up that today is Arthur Ashe's birthday.
Hell no, he didn't. No.
I don't think so.
I'm just really talking shit. I just was curious because I just saw that as a pop up that today was his birthday.
Nah.
It's Washington. They wanted to take him down. Tried everything to take him down. He had to fight for, like you said, he was a black man going to college in the 1940s. He played football as well. But when it came down to the NFL, literally, Joe, I sent you the name of him and Clyde's last name. They're called the Forgotten Four. They were four black men that played. It was just the Cleveland Browns and the Rams that had black men playing on them, but these were all college educated men playing football that it got so bad, really and truly, for 3 out of the 4, their kids didn't even know they even played football. But that's not to say that they were not. They've all been inducted in the Hall of Fame now. The person who started the NFL Retired Association was a black man named Gene Fugate. There's a lot of history we don't know because we don't teach each other. We keep waiting for them to tell us. Gene Fugate was sitting up there working with black doctors to look at the concussions that black players were getting because, they weren't necessarily being protected like they should have been. This is in the 80s. This is 70s, 80s, and 90s even. So we have a lot to offer each other. We don't have to be afraid that the white schools won't let us in. They've ended affirmative action because we do have incredible schools throughout the world. We go to school in Nigeria.
I want to ask you this. Do you think that the schools would have been fine if they would have taught Red Summer? You think schools will allow me to teach Red Summer in during history class and shit?
Hell no.
It's not that.
I mean, I
don't think we don't want to teach. Like, imagine if I would have did sex ed and I would have started talking about, hey, black girls, I'm gonna tell y'all how they found out about areola. So what they did is take a black woman and they cut her open from her navel down to her, areola, and then they started studying her while she was alive and see what effects. Like, I don't think the school curriculum would allow us to actually tell people. I don't think that's the problem. It's just that we don't control how we're educated. We really don't control that. And when you start talking about that, it starts to sound like you're hateful versus, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do you sound hateful? Why do you sound spiteful? Well, shit, every time I try to tell my story, you got a problem with it. Like, why would you say that? That sounds like hate speech. No, I don't. Like, no. Like, I don't have a problem with them talking about James or like or Kim or whoever did whatever they did in history. If it's the truth, it's the truth. Why are we afraid to hear this is how we got here?
I got one for you, BMT. I got one for you. I graduated in high school in '97. Two famous people from my high school happened to be who were classmates: Fred Hampton and Sheila Johnson. They didn't teach us about them when we was in school, but we knew about it in the neighborhood. That's how America works in school. Predominantly black school. You get what I'm saying?
Right. I didn't start hearing about some of this stuff until I wasn't in school when I learned about it.
I think it depends on the school because we learned about the Black Panther Party and we learned about a lot of different stuff in my school.
Well, I'm saying,
Like
I'm
even
saying,
now,
but
you know,
I
I think it
saying,
depends.
but think about what I just said. You
No, I know
learned
you're
about
not
the Black
wrong. I'm
Panther
not
Party.
disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying that wasn't my experience. That's all I'm saying. I'm not
I
saying
get
you.
you.
Yeah. And I did go to a predominantly black school too.
Right, but I went to the school that Fred went to. The center was on Fifth Avenue. The school was on First. They wouldn't teach about Fred in the school.
I think that had to do with a lot of the time black parents were working two jobs. They were not at the school board meetings. They were not at PTA because they could not be at PTA. My mother would make sure she was at PTA. And so there was a lot of learning. She's also part of the Historical Society, Black Genealogy and Historical Society, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a double major in African American Studies. It's so I can learn.
At my school, I can guarantee you that's not what it was.
Books, diaries of white women talking about, and black women talking about things that went on in Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina is the one place in America that ended the whole idea of Reconstruction per se, because the disenfranchised white Democrats literally drug out the aldermen in the city of Wilmington, North Carolina, drugged them out and lynched them, and burned all the black businesses down to the ground, burned about 200 black homes down to the ground, causing the residents to flee. Why? Because the white disenfranchised Democrats wanted their power back. And what could they easily do? Make the black man the scapegoat. And as Lyndon Baines Johnson said, the white man will give you the money out of his pocket, let you steal blindly from him as long as you tell him he's better than the highest black person.
Now, I have a question. I'm just asking y'all, one side says the white Democrat was the bad guy. But another side says the white Republican was the bad guy.
There was a switch. Don't play this game.
Let me shut up. Get off the mic.
Don't play that game. You know damn well there was a switch. As a matter of fact, my grandfather, he was born in 1920? Like he was in World War II and everything. But he was actually a registered Republican until he died. But he never really voted Republican. But yeah, back in what? So you're talking the he was born in the late 20s. So you're talking like the 30s and 40s, black people registered as Republicans. Good and goddamn well there was a switch. Don't play with me.
The only thing that gets me about that is we act like it was a good side of white people.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, that too. It's just
those were the better ones.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But the funny thing is, ironically enough, that is how they're parading it, though. That is how the other side is. I'm not trying to get political, but that's how they're parading it. Oh, well, the Democrats was responsible for the KKK and slavery. As if, like you said, as if all y'all motherfuckers wasn't doing that shit back in the day. Like,
I trust DeSantis. He got my
White
Joe, I will come to your
You know
house
what's
and
funny?
punch the fuck out of you right
You know
now.
what's funny? I'm gonna tell you why the KKK wore the hoods, because they were all Democrats who were hiding their face. There was no Republican KKK members.
Let them tell it, yeah.
down south, when the Republicans came in, it was by force. Because if you had participated in the rebellion, as they called it, you could not hold office. So they had to send down carpetbaggers, which were, a lot of them were white Republicans. But then in Texas, the newly freed Black people founded the Republican Party in Texas. They were originally founded by 5 Black men. Now, then in response, some white people started the Lily White Party, which meant that, Texas is Texas. What can I say, y'all? Y'all learned about Juneteenth, so now you understand Texas is Texas. But at the end of the day, now we're looking at, did they switch? No, the Southern white person could not vote because of poll taxes. That's what I just said his name, Johnson, was complaining about, was that there were more niggas voting than there were white people, because Black people were pooling our resources. Huh?
So the Black man was way more than the white.
Because we were pooling our resources so that we could pay the poll taxes. Churches were helping.
Now, hold on. I'm asking this question. So they had to make a law for Black to be allowed to vote, but somehow before then they were still voting.
They repealed.
In a state that lied to them that slavery was still going on, but they were allowing them to vote.
Here's the practical part of it.
How, Sway?
Lyndon Johnson literally cut into the Democratic National Convention because a Black woman was going to speak, and he cut in to just start talking about something random. He said he had a plan to make Black people vote for Democrats for the next 100 years, but the Voting Rights Act was about making sure that Democrats could control the voting blocks. So if you look at the maps in Texas, wherever there's a Democrat district, it looks like a snake. It turns around, it goes all different ways. And then you see a district that's a square. That's a Republican district. They pretty much, if you think white Republicans are fighting white Democrats, don't get it twisted. At the end of the day, Democrats come in and say, but we're the party of the Black people. Black people don't want to vote for the Republicans. I live in Tarrant County. Tarrant County has...
If you're saying what you're saying, then why is it whenever the Republican Party or some Black man gets shot, they always say, well, what was he doing? What was that Negro doing? Chicago. Like, I have to know, for them to so-called love that Negro, they sure do like talking about, it's okay, white man, you can say the N-word, I just listen. So, where's all this jubilee of love that you're hearing from this goddamn white Republican? But I damn sure wasn't hearing all this shit in these texts. I'm trying to know where
you hear me get on my soapbox with my crew. How can we be the party of limited government when y'all are sitting up there talking about back the blue? But that's a different segment of the population of the voting electorate that's backing the blue.
Okay,
the one
but is it not fair that a lot of conservatives like talking about that of the lower hanging fruit Black man?
Yeah, it's a good marketing. It's a good marketing spill. If you are Bob, you have to understand. I think white people income is about $46,000. $46,000. Whereas the national median for Black people is $49,000.
Okay, so, I'm not saying Democrats are better.
It's lower than theirs. It's not higher.
Like, I'm not saying that they're better, but if you're using reasons of why certain things like, hey, like, what's that girl Brianna Taylor? Brianna, yeah, if she wouldn't have been with that man, she wouldn't have got shot. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are we really playing this game now? Or the woman that shot the woman through the fucking door? Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of fucked up shit that be happening in a lot of these states. And they'll say, well, you should have complied. Like, no, man, it's not like that. It's
Dallas, y'all saw in Dallas that they put that crazy ass white bitch in jail when she said, I couldn't tell my apartment. They put the white boy in jail that shot the black Tiana Jefferson through her in her own house. That, yeah. But white boys that they killed on the streets, you know, they said fuck him. The black DA said fuck it. Y'all not gonna do no time for killing that crazy ass white boy. I mean,
now, I'm gonna be for real. A lot of white conservatives were trying to save Tyler Rittenhouse. A lot of them were trying to save that motherfucker. A lot of them were trying to save Zimmerman. It's like the worst pieces of shit. They be trying to save them motherfuckers like they are national trophies or landmarks that somehow would
And
have saved
why
the
do you
world.
think that is? Why do you think that is?
They would have saved Jesus if he.
If he shot a black man through the window.
Oh, God,
But why do you think that they're trying to save the Kyle Rittenhouse? I mean, there's been people that sat right here on your panel trying to save Kyle Rittenhouse. But why do you think they're trying to save the Kyle Rittenhouses and the what's the guy that y'all stepped on George Floyd? Like why are they trying to save those people?
He's living the American dream.
He the American dream. You think about that?
To kill a black man.
Hey.
Or
so
black.
you go. It has more angst for the black man. It's just, I don't say it like that. Look at y'all. I'm on my platform telling people limit the government and the police.
I can't hear anything.
Damn, Michelle been around Candace Owens too damn long, man. I'm trying to get her ass out of there, man. You guys stop talking with Candace Owens. We're gonna get you away from Candace.
Any day, anytime, I'll whoop that bitch's ass like she stole something.
No, you will. If he invited your ass over for dinner, you'll be right over there.
The epitome of what I'm talking about. That I have set up with party officials.
Raisins in the potato salad.
I don't invite Candace Owens to speak. They said because people want to hear what she has to say. The only thing that she's telling you is that it's okay for you to feel uncomfortable around black people. It's okay. I believe those stereotypes too. She's not involved with the black people.
Listen. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna get out of here. This is gonna be funny about
Yeah, it's all time to go.
Don't.
Yeah.
I just need y'all to remember in about 10 years when they start calling her little mixed baby nigga, how she flips. Just remember.
We'll see her back at the HBCU.
Just remember when a little kid starts getting disrespected in grade school and high school, and she can't just, well, maybe it's, what about Chicago? It's the Chicago is why my son's getting called a nigger. Just let it play out.
Anything you want to say? Anything I want to say?
No, I'm good. I'm about to go take a shower and take my ass to bed. I don't know. Her phone is getting worse. That shit is hella annoying.
I made a fried bologna sandwich. So, all right, y'all.
Shit.
I made a fried bologna sandwich. I'm gonna go watch Power and watch how this white man try to get my nigga ghost. Somehow I don't know why he keep trusting that motherfucker. But other than that, you guys, thank God for coming through. We love you guys.